Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 581-600. Chapter 0581-A Major S-Class Mission. Outside, there's a dragon from outside. Kageyama said with a terrified expression. Is Mr. Eli Goyle not here? It's over, that dragon is going to go crazy. Run, he muttered to himself shiveringly, and immediately wanted to run away, escaping through the back door. Seeing his appearance, many mages in the hall looked at each other in dismay. You're not crazy, are you? Yingshan. Dragon, where is it? I'm so big, I haven't seen it before. Hey, Kageyama, where are you going? The crowd shouted. Just then, the door was kicked open. Boom. Qinyang walked in generously and said, Where are you going? Death, Lord Deathwing. Kageyama, who had just walked a few steps, suddenly froze. He turned around in embarrassment and said cautiously, I'm going to find Lord Eli Gore. Don't worry, I'll definitely bring him back. No need. Qinyang waved his hand and glanced at everyone in the hall. Since he's not here, then forget it. He is here to grab the guild stronghold. It doesn't matter if the leader is there or not. Thinking of this, he opened his mouth and said, My name is Deathwing, the great master of dreams. Starting today, this guild belongs to my place. You people, hurry up and get out. What? Hearing this, someone immediately said angrily, Who are you? Don't think that you can speak madly if you know Yingshan. If you are courting death, if you dare to provoke our iron forest, don't be polite to him. A yellow hair sneered, got up first, and walked towards Qinyang. He was not a fool, but only after confirming that Qinyang did not exude magical energy, did he dare to take the initiative to stand up. At this moment, he walked in front of Qinyang and said unceremoniously, Boy, I don't know what's wrong with you, and I don't know where you got the courage, but this is the Forest of Iron, the Dark Guild. Don't, Richie. Yingshan opened his mouth and shouted, Run. You idiot. It's late. Qinyang, Isho, flicked his fingers. Boom. This finger popped out and hit Huang Mao's forehead directly. In an instant, the man turned into a human cannonball, traversing a distance of dozens of meters, smashing many tables and chairs in the hall, and breaking through the rear. The wall has been knocked out of the guild. Seeing this scene, many wizards who were still drinking in Yuzai suddenly changed their expressions and stood up one by one. He is that dragon. Yingshan said in horror. Don't provoke him. If he turns into a real body, he will smash the entire guild to pieces with one claw. Dragon. This guy. What is the situation? Everyone was shocked, and for a while, they panicked. It seems that you have a lot of affection for the guild, so I will show mercy and let you stay for a while. Qinyang chuckled, pulled over a chair, and sat down calmly. He crossed Erlang's legs, and then grabbed to the top of the hall. There, a flag was hung, and under this grasp, the flag was suddenly pulled into Qinyang's hands. The next moment, with a puff, a flame ignited, burning the guild flag to ashes. This is already the guild I've been waiting for. Dream. Qinyang grabbed the empty space and conjured up a new flag. You, come here and hang this up. The corner of the pointed person's mouth twitched and he walked over. Me. If you don't want to lose your arms or legs, just do it honestly. Qinyang pointed at the other people. Also, you guys, clean up the guild for me. Since you don't want to leave, then make a final contribution. Understood. Between the words, a huge momentum suddenly descended. Boom. There was a muffled sound in the sky, the whole hall seemed to be shaking violently, like an earthquake, and the tables and chairs in the hall were shaking. Immediately, this group of Dark Guild wizards fell to their knees in unison. One by one, they were horrified and terrified. It seems that behind Qinyang who is sitting there is a phantom of a giant dragon that is controlling the roar. Dragon. The real Longwei. Lord Deathwing. The shadow demon was sweating coldly. Well, I have completed the task of leading the way, can you let me go? You still want to go? Qinyang raised his eyebrows, It's not impossible, let's get everyone in line first. Come to me one by one and demonstrate your magic. 67 mages present, excluding Kageyama. Although most of them are not very good, there are always one or two that can transcribe mysterious runes. In that case, don't waste it, but fortunately collect it. Yes, Yingxian smiled bitterly. If he could, he would really like to go back to yesterday and slap his companion to death. If it wasn't for that idiot, he wouldn't easily get offended by this dragon. The Kingdom of Fury, a town named Magnolia. This is a long-established magical business town. Somewhere in this town, at the end of the road passing by the Cathedral of Cartier, there is a guild. Fairy Tale. This is an extremely noisy regular guild, known as Fiore's Strongest Sorcerers Guild. In the hall on the first floor of the guild, there is a boy in shorts, a man with a burly head, a woman sitting at a table drinking without the image of a lady, and a handsome blonde guy who is infacking all day. There is also a Kanban girl, a big beauty with a smile on her face, serving tea and water. People who smoke, dance, paint, drink, and all kinds of people exist here. At this moment, a short old man suddenly walked in. Seeing his appearance, the noisy atmosphere suddenly became quiet. Kanban Niang's eyes lit up with a smile like sunshine, which warmed people's hearts. President, you are back. Did this regular meeting end early? 2 days earlier than expected. The president's name is Makarov, one of the top 10 magicians. Ha! With a sigh, Makarov held a stack of documents in his hand. Mira. He reached out and handed the document in his hand. This is. Mila, the Kanban lady, took it and glanced suspiciously. The last one, Makarov said with a headache. This is the reason why this routine meeting ended early. Go and hang it on the task board on the second floor. Huh. Mila blinked, turned to the last one, and looked at it carefully. This is a commission, the content is extremely simple, but the level setting is very high. S-rank mission: investigate the Dark Guild. S. Dream, the reward is 10 million J. The client is the council. Mira was taken aback, direct commission from the Senate. Too rare, and it's still an S-level mission, with a reward of 10 million J. What is this fantasy? This mission is extremely dangerous. At the end of the commission, there is a friendly reminder. Mira looked at the entrustment and then at Makarov. President, what is this? A dark guild. Makarov had an incomparable headache. Last night, someone invaded the Senate headquarters and provoked 10 members of the Senate, but the Senate couldn't help each other. This person, called Shadow Demon, is a dreamy messenger. Hearing this, Mila's eyes widened, full of surprise. And Dream, claiming to be the most vicious dark guild in history. Chapter 0582-21st change. Second update tilde going on a blind date today. I am so tired, and the third update will write it tomorrow morning. Close black lens bracket. Claiming to be the most vicious and evil dark guild in history. Makarov took small steps and walked up to the second floor. Mira, put the commission on the task board on the second floor. If anyone wants to take this commission, it is best to act in small groups. Yes, President. Mira nodded, and immediately went to the second floor, pasting the entrustment on the task board. There is also a task version in the lobby on the first floor, but they are all second-level tasks, and the S-level tasks will be hung on the second floor. In the Sorcerer's Guild, all tasks, from easy to difficult, are divided into ordinary, S-rank, 10-year tasks, and 100-year tasks. The so-called 10-year mission is an S-level mission. If no one completes it within 10 years, it will be automatically upgraded to a 10-year mission. Centennial mission, the same is true. After posting the commission, Mira couldn't help but ask, President, I've never heard of the Dream Guild. It came out of nowhere, and that's why the Senate commissioned this kind of investigation. Makarov shook his head and said, it's not just us, all regular guilds have received this commission. From this action, it can be seen that the council is obviously very attentive, and only the investigation has given a reward of 10 million. Of course, the Dark Guild came to provocation. If there was no response, the prestige of the council would be lost. In short, to accept this commission, at least the team must act. Understood. Mira nodded. When Urza returns, she may be interested. Urza, Makarov thought for a while, let it be the most suitable for her. In Fairy Tale, there are several S-rank mages, but most of them are rarely in the guild, and only Urza is more often there. At the same time, similar scenes continued to occur between the major guilds. Dream of the Dark Guild spread quietly, and countless people were curious about this organization. At the same time, there are also teams that have already accepted the mission and started to investigate. Not to mention the regular guild's response to this important S-rank mission, the Dark Guild Iron Forest. No, it is no longer the Iron Forest, but the Fantasy Guild. In the hall, all the wizards of the Iron Forest lined up to show their magic in front of Qinyang. After a series of analysis, Qinyang finally harvested 3 mysterious runes. These 3 runes are Fire Magic, Smell Magic, and Firearm Magic. The mysterious power contained in these 3 magic runes is similar to Yingshan's Shadow Magic, which is equal to 1/3 of a magic jade. Tilde is less than or equal to. Now counting the original 2 runes, Qinyang already has 5 in his hands. Pai Shan. It should be enough to open a good new phantom body. However, don't rush. Qinyang nodded with satisfaction, then looked at the exhausted heavy man, and said, you can get out. Yingshan stay. Hearing this, everyone fled the guild as if they had been granted amnesty. In the blink of an eye, there were only 2 people left in the entire guild. Seeing this, Yingshan smiled bitterly. Lord Deathwing, what else do you want to command? Are you afraid of me? Qinyang chuckled lightly. Afraid? You are a dragon. Yingshan complained inwardly, but smirked on his face. Did you find a magic flute? Qinyang asked. Hearing this, Yingshan's eyelids jumped. How do you know? When you were in the tavern, you talked about it. Qinyang was too lazy to talk nonsense. Where is that thing sealed? A magic house. After a moment of silence, Kageyama didn't dare to lie, and said bravely, that flute is called Lullaby, also known as Curse Song. Lullaby, the legendary black magician Jeff, who gave it, the magic of death. Just blow this flute, and you can curse and kill everyone who hears the song. The task of going out this time is to find this magic flute. But because the seal was too strong, the 4 of them failed to capture the magic flute, and after resting in the town, they met Qinyang again. Really? Qinyang was noncommittal. He knew better than Kageyama that the so-called lullaby was not just the magic flute, but one of the demons in the Book of Jerth. On the other hand, Jeff, the most powerful black magician in the past 400 years, has reached the abyss level, which is comparable to the black dragon that Qinyang met before, and even slightly stronger than the black dragon. It has to be mentioned here that the level of the mages in this world is strong and weak. Although there is no clear division, but judging from common sense, it can be roughly divided into 3 levels. S-rank magician, the 10 great magicians of the Holy Spirit, the great abyss magician. The so-called S-rank mages were those who stood out from countless mages, and Urza belonged to this category. The 10 most powerful wizards, were selected by the mainland, and the president of Fairy Tale, Makarov, was the 10 most powerful wizards. And the most advanced abyss wizard, there are only a few people in the whole world. Of course, there are also a lot of people in the pseudo-abyss between the Holy 10 and the abyss. Qinyang is very interested in the magic of these people, compared to the fact that he can transcribe very good mysterious runes. Of course, putting these aside for now, Qinyang is also very interested in the so-called demons. After all, the devil is also a kind of magic, or it should be called a magic creature, a life created by magic. Since magic can be transcribed and mysterious runes can be obtained, so should demons. Thinking of this, Qinyang immediately said, "Go get the magic flute and bring it back. Of course, you just need to lead the way. I'll do things like unlocking the seal." Saying that, Qinyang snapped his fingers. Suddenly, a ray of light was projected from his chest. The white light flew out and quickly condensed a figure. It was a young male, dressed in a black robe with red clouds, a forehead guard, and dark nails. Of course, this forehead guard is not Konoha, but a symbol of fantasy. When Yingxian saw a figure appearing out of thin air, he was shocked. "I'm Itachi Uchiha, ninja, one of the members of 4.4 Fantasy." Uchiha Itachi said lightly, "Let's lead the way." "Ninja. Another dragon and another ninja, what the hell is this fantasy guild?" Kageyama murmured inwardly, but he didn't dare not agree. Yes. Soon, the two left one after another. In the entire hall, Qinyang was the only one left. He spread out his right palm, stared at the 5 mysterious runes in his palm, and said with a chuckle, "Try to start a new transformation. Now I have 20 phantoms, this is the 21st. Hope is a special point. The transformation of the fighter, the transformation of the combat type, unless it surpasses the master, it will not be of much use." Quote. Between the words, he snapped and crushed the rune in his palm. In the next moment, these 5 talisman cultures acted as mysterious powers and quickly nourished the body. Mysterious power fills the body, transforming its life form. The 21st change. Chapter 0583_Lord of the Elements. Yesterday's third update. I will definitely finish it today, calm down. The 5 shattered mysterious runes turned into incomparably pure and mysterious power, and began to nourish Qinyang's body and change his life form. Puff. Qinyang's flesh burned, his blood, muscles, bones, and even his nerves burned. Then, in the sky above the guild, a tide of elements quietly formed. In the atmosphere, endless magic particles turned into brilliance, like a vortex. They were attracted, and they were quickly fused and swallowed by Qinyang. This magical tidal vortex is getting bigger and bigger. From the initial size of a palm, it expands to a diameter of 10 meters in just a moment, and then dozens of meters, and an hour later, it is 100 meters in diameter. Such a huge tidal vortex, like a cloud, floats above the sky. This scene immediately attracted the attention of countless people. And Qinyang was unmoved, completely immersed in the opening process of the new phantom body. His body has disappeared, but his consciousness still exists. This situation is quite similar to the opening of the Holy Archangel at the beginning. As soon as the thought moved, Qinyang separated, white light flashed, and he turned into a human form again. He stared at the center of the whirlpool 15 in the hall, thoughtful. Just the power of 5 mysterious runes is not enough to start this transformation. It is probably difficult to even reach 1 star, so do you have to absorb the magic particles in the atmosphere. At the beginning, the Archangel was similar, and had to rely on the power of belief in the entire world to complete the opening. Although Qinyang finally dispelled those beliefs, the process of opening did depend on that power. Now this new phantom body, the situation is similar. It seems to be a new illusion related to magic. It should be very powerful after absorbing such a huge magic particle. At least it is also the master level, and there is a high probability of being a master, and it may even surpass the master. Just thinking about it, the information about the new phantom body came out in Qinyang's mind. 21st change. Lord of Elements Atmant, Elemental Life. Star. Ability 1. The information obtained is only a name. It's still in the process of opening. At this speed, it will take 3 or 4 days. Qinyang's eyes twitched, and he thought silently, it takes so long to open an illusory body for the first time. Pause, he said to himself. Elemental life, it seems to be a special illusion close to the essence of magic, just like Jeff's demon. Thinking of this, Qinyang walked out of the guild and looked up at the sky. The huge tidal vortex extracted all the magic particles within 10 miles, and the speed was getting faster and faster. Because of the mutation of magic power, the sky was occupied by dark clouds, and the sound of lightning and thunder continued. What a big move, I'm afraid it will soon attract the attention of powerful mages. Qin thought about it, and immediately smiled. That's just right, I'm short of mysterious runes right now. Since that's the case, I'll add more fire. If there are a few of the top 10 magic guides, it will be profitable. When he thought of it, he did it. Qin reached out and grabbed it, took out a magic jade, and crushed it directly. The broken magic jade turned into pure mysterious power and flowed into the sky. The next moment, the black cloud that absorbed the magic jade changed rapidly and was extremely thick, as if the sky was about to collapse. Not only that, thunder and lightning are intertwined, the sky within a radius of 100 miles, the sun is blocked, and the dark clouds are low, like the end of the world. At the same time, the mutation here quickly attracted the attention of the major guilds. Magnolia, Fairy Tale. Makarov stood on the top floor of the guild, looking at the sky far away from the window, his face full of surprise. What is that? Magical particles are flowing over there, can cause heaven and earth, and even climate change. What is it? At the same time, there is another guild in this country, one of the two major guilds with the same name as Fairy Tale. Ghost Ruler. Above a tall building, a man wearing a dark purple mage hat and purple lipstick looked into the distance curiously. Because the distance is relatively close, what he sees is clearer than Makarov. What a huge tide of magic, who is creating new magic? President Joseph, do you need me to take a look? A man grinned. This person has long black hair, pointed, which will stick up. There are 5 studs on the left ear, 3 on each of the eyes, and on the nose. He is wearing a metal suit. His name is Gajil Retfox, the ace wizard of the ghosts. With such a big movement, many people in the entire Fury Kingdom can notice it. President Joseph said with a low smile, either there are powerful magicians cultivating, or someone is creating a kind of super magic. Gajiru, take someone to see the situation and get ahead of the others. After a pause, he continued, I can feel that a terrifying power is being born at the center of this magical tide. We need to master it. Use it to deal with the damn fairy tale. Yes. In the Fury Palace, in the garden, a man dressed in knight armor suddenly raised his head and stared at the sky in the distance. What's wrong? The cute little princess blinked and followed her gaze, but didn't see anything. What a huge amount of magic power. Who is it? Is this amount of magic power the top 10 magic guides? No, maybe, it's even more than this. Man murmured in shock, but it's not a known aura, Her Royal Highness, please. At the top of a mysterious tower, above the throne, a young man with short blue hair, playing 490 chess, opened his mouth with a smile. This magic power is perfect, such a huge magic power is very useful for our plan. Go and see, in that direction, what is bred in that direction. Yes, Lord Gerald. At the same time, all forces were surprised by the birth of the Lord of Elements. Not only the regular guild, the council, but even the Dark Guild, can't help but feel curious. In a short period of time, countless forces rushed towards the location of the Dream Guild. Qin looked at the vision in the sky and nodded with satisfaction. That way, just sit back and wait. After speaking, he turned his eyes and looked at the guild behind him. Boom! Because of the huge magic power, the guild could no longer bear it and exploded directly. The manic flames raged, forming a vortex of flames. In the huge whirlpool, a behemoth 10 meters tall is slowly taking shape. 21st change, Lord of Elements Otmont, Elemental Life. Star Rating. Ability 1, Control the element of fire. Ability 2, Control the elements of the tide. The information has changed, but the process of opening is still going on. Not only that, the tidal vortex of magic power is getting bigger and bigger at this moment. In the blink of an eye, 3 days later. Chapter 0584 The Power of Water and Fire. 3 days passed in a flash. In the past 3 days, the tidal vortex above the sky has reached its peak and is now slowly fading. This means that the opening of the new master of phantom elements is coming to an end. This is the elemental life born from the interweaving of the element of fire and the element of water. It is completely different from the rest of Qin Yang's phantom bodies. The closest one is probably only the shadow demon. Elemental life, control all kinds of elements, as long as there is magic, it is almost immortal and indestructible, and it grows infinitely. Qin Yang observed the appearance of the new phantom body, and said softly, now it's water and fire, two completely different attributes, which are cleverly maintaining a balance. Vivi Isho, Qin Yang looked down at his body at the moment. The height of more than 10 meters, the whole body is like a vortex, half is flame, half is seawater. Above the body, there are two hands of elements, one hand is raging flame, the other hand is blue water. At this moment, the tidal vortex above the sky gradually dissipated, and the last traces of magic particles gathered on the body to form the last head. Huge head, facial features only a pair of eyes, not even a mouth. Wonderful feeling, completely different from the perception of other phantoms. Qin Yang controlled the Lord of Elements and tried to release his perception. Immediately, the whole world changed from colorful to monotonous four-color, orange, blue, yellow, green, four-color elements intertwined. Under this strange perception, Qin Yang's exploration scope is rapidly expanding. In the blink of an eye, thousands of meters, then 10,000 meters, and then, everything in a radius of 100,000 meters has been explored. What a strong perception ability. Qin Yang Vivi was taken aback. This powerful perception is comparable to that of the original Qin Emperor. Suddenly, he snorted lightly, and looked at the forest path ahead. Come out, do you think you can hide from my perception by hiding deep underground? As soon as the voice fell, I saw that on the ground, the clouds were surging like mud, and then two silhouettes gradually condensed. It turned out to be a magical life. One of them was wearing a metal costume, and after showing up, he stared at Qin Yang firmly. Looking at your appearance, you also possess the wisdom of human level. No tilde no tilde no tilde. Gajiru, this should be an elemental life, higher than a magical life. You are not one of the four elements, so I don't understand, but I am an earth element, so I understand it as soon as I see it. Quote. The other person wears a monocle, has a mustache, speaks a mantra, and looks like a gentleman. Looking at your appearance, it seems to be a new life born after the combination of fire element and water element. The environment here is nothing special, so, someone must have created you. Who is it? He. Qin Yang chuckled. I'll just say, it's been 3 days, why hasn't anyone come, and now two have come. You come from the Ghost Masters, don't talk nonsense, donate your magic. Between words, Qin Yang grabbed it with one hand. His right hand was flaming, and as soon as he grabbed it, a flaming hand appeared in an instant, a huge palm, swooping towards the two of them. It's really an elemental life that is not friendly at all. However, you who have just been born are struggling to control yourself, so you can't be the opponent of the two of us. Man with the monocle waved out one hand and shouted loudly, Saturday of plaster. Boom boom boom. The earth shook, and a lump bulged on the clod, and then suddenly turned into a huge fist, facing Qin Yang's flaming hand. Boom. When the two elements collided, a big explosion occurred immediately. However, Qin Yang's phantom body was the master of the elements, and his degree of control over the elements was by no means comparable to that of ordinary mages. I saw the gentleman's rock and earth fist, and only in an instant, it turned into charred black, and it was burned to the ground. The next moment, Qin Yang's left hand stretched out, and a tsunami suddenly burst into the ground, rushing towards the two of them. Hand of the Sea God. Seeing this, the gentleman Manvivi was startled and said to himself, this guy switches between the two elements without any delay. Especially water and fire, which are completely opposite attributes, when used at the same time, they will explode under normal circumstances, but there is nothing abnormal about the mysterious elemental life in front of them. In the short moment of his thinking, the huge wave has been photographed. Boom! In an instant, the entire forest was washed away by the sea, and the gentleman even hid in the ground and disappeared. However, at this moment, Gajiru, who had been inactive for a while, suddenly punched. Iron Dragon Stick. He punched out from the air, and instantly his arm extended, turned into a steel puncture, and attacked Qin Yang's head through the tide. Puff! With one blow, the iron rod pierced Qin Yang's head. No, the description of the piercing is not accurate, it is through, just through. What? Gajiru frowned and jumped to the top of a big tree. Ignore physical attacks. He. Qin Yang smiled and said, Dragon slaying magic, your magic is very good. However, in your body, the Iron Dragon Metallicana is still sleeping, so I'll take it out forcibly. Between the words, he growled. The roar of the Elemental Lord, commanding all the elements. Absolutely frozen. Ka. With the place where Qin Yang stood as the center, the place previously soaked by seawater, in an instant, turned into ice. The earth, mud, forest, and even the air turned into ice crystals in an instant. Impossible, isn't it the water element? Gajiru's complexion changed slightly, and he didn't have time to dodge. The speed of this freezing far exceeded his reaction speed. Whoosh! A burst of elemental power swept across, and in an instant, everything within the reach of the naked eye turned into a world of ice crystals. Even the gentleman who was buried deep in the ground was frozen in the ground at this moment. Within a radius of several thousand meters, only Qin Yang can move. He fluttered close to the ground, slowly approaching. Iron Dragon Slayer, I will accept your magic. With a chuckle, Qin Yang suddenly stretched out his right hand and grabbed the opponent. However, at the moment when he was about to catch it, he stopped again, although I want to say that, I haven't finished analyzing the Dragon Slayer magic. The one hiding in the sky, after watching it for so long, you can almost come out. Oh! In mid-air, light and shadow changed, wisps of darkness lingered, and then a figure quickly appeared. How did you find me? President Joseph said curiously. It's the first time I've seen an elemental life like you. The ghost's president. Qin Yang raised his head and looked at each other calmly. It's just a missing body, it's really boring. The missing body, using the huge magic power, creates something similar to the clone. Generally, only 10th level mages can do this kind of thing. Hehe, elemental life, you are no longer magical, you have just been born, and you even know the missing body. Joseph V.V. Isho, with a sinister smile, tell me, who is your creator? What are you? I am the Lord of the Elements, Ottermont. Qin Yang stretched out his hands and spread his 5 fingers. Between his palms, the 2 elements of flame and seawater were intertwined, quickly forming a ball of water and fire. As for my creator, you are worthy of knowing Lord Qin. Get out. Between words, this ball of water and fire elements suddenly smashed out. The next moment, boom. The shocking explosion, the 2 elements of mania, at this moment, no longer coexist peacefully, but caused a loud noise that shook the world. The raging flames, strong winds, and seawater engulfed the forest in an instant. Chapter 0585_I join. The second and third updates are about 12:30, a little late, sorry. By the way, Urza is going to be the heroine, so if you don't mind, I'll just write it like that. Close black lens bracket. The flames were intertwined with the sea water, sweeping the entire forest. The previously frozen forest was raised to the ground in an instant under this power. Looking around, within a radius of several thousand meters, it is already bare. Using the properties of the water element and the fire element to create magic. Above the sky, at the center of the explosion, President Joseph's figure was distorted, as if the signal had been interrupted, flickering and blurring his body. Half of his body has disappeared, only part of his head remains. I'm getting more and more curious. You, who was just born, can even comprehend this kind of advanced magic. Your creator is really a brilliant wizard." He spoke. Joseph's thoughts became more and more blurred. "Ottermont, are you interested in joining the ghost? I'll be waiting for you in the guild." Between the words, his thoughts began to dissipate. "The Chin Emperor, in your mouth, if you are interested, you can join together. I very much welcome the powerful magician." He. Qinyang chuckled twice, and a light of water and fire suddenly shot out from the Lord of Elements' forehead, which instantly pierced through the other party's missing body. "I'm waiting for a dream. Join your ghosts. Stop dreaming, it's the iron under your hand. Dragon Slayer and another, Earth Elemental, prepare the ransom." Dream. President Joseph's face was startled, and his missing body was also frozen under this expression, and finally disappeared completely. After confirming that the other party's breath dissipated, Qinyang shook his head. "One of the 10, Joseph Zala, the president of the ghost ruler, a missing body is not my opponent at all. It seems that this new phantom body is unexpected. Strong. It is immune to water and fire elemental damage, ignores physical attacks, and has excellent destructive power. Elemental life is unique in this world." Thinking of this, he looked around. The forest had disappeared, and the surrounding area was bare. It seems that no one has found this place before because someone has been placed in a magical barrier, covering up the breath. As for who this man was, it must be Joseph. Now that the magical barrier has been destroyed, and there is a fight, I am afraid that someone will come over soon. Qinyang chuckled and flew slowly, approaching Gajiru, who was still in a semi-frozen state. "Boy, can you still talk?" "What?" Gajiru moved his eyes and said in a low voice, "What do you want to do?" "It's nothing, don't be nervous, I'm not interested in killing you." Qinyang stretched out his left hand, and the water element in his palm instantly transformed into the ice element, completely freezing Gajiru. Kakaka. In just a short while, the Iron Dragon Slayer mage had turned into an ice sculpture. At the same time, thousands of meters away, a 4-person group of 3 men and 1 woman is slowly approaching here. One of them was dark-skinned, with short blonde hair and playing cards. No wonder I can't find the right place. It turns out that there is a magical barrier. It seems that someone got there first. Hugh, don't talk nonsense, hurry over. This pure magic is very useful to us. Simon, I feel that this time is quite dangerous. Why don't we sneak in and hide from the side to observe? There must be other people with such a big movement. What you said makes sense, then restrain your breath. Between the words of the few people, they suppressed their own breath, and then they approached the center of the forest. In addition to the 4 of them, there is also a woman who is also walking towards the forest. Of course, the current forest has disappeared, leaving only a piece of ice slag. What a powerful magic power, close to the level of the Holy 10. And it is a very pure magic power, which froze the entire forest in an instant, and then raised it to the ground due to the explosion. Yulusha looked around and whispered, "The breath that passed away just now should be the ghost of Joseph. She is a member of the council, and this time the movement is so big, so of course the council members will react. However, it was she who volunteered to come to investigate this kind of task. At this moment, she was going all the way, without hiding any traces, and walked towards the central area in a grand manner. Half an hour later, she came to the spot where the fighting broke out. You can see the ruins of a church building, and an ice crystal statue standing in front of the ruins. This guy is the ghost of Gajiru." Yulusha understood. Sure enough, it was the ghost just now, and the magic barrier was also the ghost of that guy. Do you want to take it all alone? Just thinking about it, there are 2 elements, water and fire, intertwined and clustered in front of them, and quickly condensed into a behemoth. Yulusha. Qinyang looked at the woman with interest. Elemental life. Yulusha's brows flashed, and she thought in surprise, and there is high wisdom. Unlike Iron Cage and the others, Yulusha knows more. The birth of elemental life requires extremely harsh conditions. The surrounding environment here is not special, that is to say, someone must have deliberately created the elemental life in front of him. There is only one person Yulusha knows who can do such a thing. Black Mage, Jeff. But Jeff is dead, certainly not him, which means that there is someone she doesn't know who has reached the abyss of magic and mastered the power to create life. Thinking of this, Yulusha took a deep breath and said, "You know me." He. Chinyang chuckled lightly and said, "Of course we do. Not long ago, our shadow demon visited you." Hearing this, Yulusha's expression changed slightly. Dream. She suddenly became extremely alert, and she was very interested in the mysterious dream, but she checked a lot of information and found no clues about the other party. "Don't be so nervous," Chinyang said. "If I want to take action against you, I just attack directly. I am one of the members of the dream, the newly born master of the elements, Automont, and Lord Qin Emperor created me." Emperor Qin. Yulusha's heart moved. "Your president." "That's right." Chinyang nodded and said, "Yulusha, Lord Qin Emperor intends to invite you to join our dream, so you might as well consider it." "Join you, Dark Guild?" As if hearing a joke, Yulusha said playfully, "Are you serious? Invite a judge to join the Dark Guild? The counselor is the representative of the light, how could he degenerate to join the Dark Guild?" Devil's Heart, one of the 3 major dark guilds. In this guild, there are 7 powerful wizards named 7 Dependents of Purgatory, and you. Chinyang said calmly. Yulusha, on the surface, is a counselor, but in fact she is the head of the 7 purgatory families. Hearing this, Yulusha's expression changed drastically. Her identity has never been revealed, how does the person in front of her know? Ha ha ha, I like this expression. Chinyang laughed Isho and said, "I'll ask you one last time, are you interested in joining me in the dream?" Of course, it's not without benefits. The biggest benefit is that you can see your dead mother. What did you say? Yulusha was shocked. I'm waiting to master the power to resurrect the dead. Hearing this, Yulusha's expression changed, and after a while, she nodded directly. Yes, I'll join in. Chapter 0586-Neltharion the Haunted. 100 characters. I fell asleep on my stomach. Damn it, my body is getting worse and worse as I get older. Not knowing whether it was the resurrection of her dead mother moved her, Yulusha nodded in agreement after a brief consideration. This made Chinyang speechless for a while, and the other words he had prepared were useless. Seeing that the elemental lord was a little stunned, Yulusha chuckled and said, "You know a lot about me, how much have you understood?" "I know your past, present, and future." Chinyang's eyes turned and he immediately reacted. "In my dream, there are 2 powerful beings who can understand the future and the past, and even interfere in the future. One of them is the hero King Gilgamesh, and the other is Tilda Aizen." "Know the future?" Yulusha's eyes narrowed slightly. Her own magic is the lost magic, the arc of time, so she is very sensitive to this, but her magic does not predict the future, it only pushes things into the past, or the future, such as the broke in the crystal ball, returned to the state before it was broken. Could it be another, higher-level time-based magic beyond the arc of time? Yulusha pondered secretly in her heart. This brief conversation revealed too much information, especially Emperor Qin, who can create such a wise elemental life. 9 out of 10 are great wizards who have reached the abyss level. But, Emperor Qin, she had never heard of it, and this kind of name was very special. Thinking of this, she stared at the Lord of Elements and said, "Can I see those 2 beings? Are you more interested in dream members like me than resurrecting your mother?" Chinyang raised his eyebrows and said playfully, "Yulusha, you agreed too readily, so I thought about a test temporarily. If you can pass it, then you can officially join me." "Temporary? You bastard, this guy obviously invited her to test her." Yulusha was very dissatisfied. "Then let me ask, what is the test?" "Catch the dragon slayer from fairy tale." Now, Chinyang has an iron dragon in his hand, and if he goes to catch the fire dragon of fairy tale, he can transcribe 2 kinds of dragon-slaying magic. Dragon Slayer magic was originally developed for the purpose of fighting against dragons, and the mysterious runes that were transcribed from this should be more peculiar. Of course, the mysterious rune is only one of them, and the sleeping dragon inside the Dragon Slayer magician is the most fundamental purpose. Natsu Dragon Neil, Yulusha asked. You seem to know him very well. Yulusha chuckled and said, yes, Fairy Tail is one of the most troublesome guilds in the council, and the fire dragon Natsu is the trouble within the trouble. A pause, he added, yes, I will arrest him. However, after finishing, how should I contact you? In fact, she could use a crystal ball to contact her, but she didn't say it, but she wanted to see what Neen's dream had. It's very simple. You just need to call the name, Shadow Demon, when you complete the task. At that time, he will naturally be able to sense it and come down in front of you. Having said this, Qin Yang paused. Of course, it's fine for you to call Emperor Qin. No matter where you are in the world, or even locked in some kind of powerful magical barrier, just call this name. Lord Qin can feel it. And this power. No, it is indeed possible for an abyss-level wizard to do it. Before the Black Magician Girth, there was a more powerful being called God of Anxalam, and this God could probably do similar things. I see, I'll do it ASAP. Yulusha took a deep breath and nodded. So, when will my mother be resurrected? Are you so impatient? Qin Yang chuckled. Don't regret it then. Regret? Anyway, you complete this task, and I can help you revive Ulu at any time. Qin Yang didn't want to tell her too much. There was a huge misunderstanding between this woman and her mother, which caused this woman to hate her biological mother to death. After resurrecting her mother, the first thing she would do is to kill herself. Other side. Of course, even if it is really killed at that time, there will be no problem, and the big deal will be resurrected again. However, at that time, it was Yulusha who begged him. That's all, let's go. Don't contact us if you have nothing to do. As Qin Yang waved, the power of ice and fire created a hot wind, blowing Yulusha away. Yulusha did not resist. Her vision was blocked by thick fog, but in a blink of an eye, she had been blown away by dozens or hundreds of meters, and came to the back of a frozen stone. There, she saw 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman. Oh, 4 little mice, it's been a long time eavesdropping, hasn't it? Yulusha Vivi Isho, with graceful steps, slowly walked towards the 4 of them. Seeing this, the only woman among the 4 swallowed her saliva and said, Simon, what should I do now? I've been discovered. Magnolia, station. Urza came out of the station with a heavy luggage cart. She looked down at her palm. Vivi moved her fingers, and said softly, the magic has finally recovered. Since yesterday, the magic has recovered to the peak level, but I have been unable to use the dressing, and it has not fully recovered until now. What the hell did that guy do to me? Thinking of Nasario's face, she felt agitated for a while, and quickly shook her head to dispel the unnecessary thoughts. Back to the guild. Leaving the station, walking straight along the avenue, passing by the Cathedral of Cartier, and passing an arch bridge, Urza finally came to the gate of the Fairy Tail Guild. With her figure appearing, the guild hall, which was very noisy just a moment ago, suddenly fell into a static state. Everyone's eyes looked over in unison. Urza. I'm going back. Something is bad. Every sorcerer, his face was covered with cold sweat. Elsa, who was unaware of this, looked around and said, I'm back, is the president here? Hearing this, Mira smiled and said, the president is not in the guild, and I don't know where he is. Really? Urza nodded and said nothing more. In fact, she wanted to ask President Makarov about her loss of magic power and magic in the past few days, but since she was not there, she had to change the time later. Seeing that she was silent, the many wizards around were trembling with fear. What's going on? Is this Urza? You didn't reprimand us. Maybe you have something on your mind. Idiot, it's too loud, What if I hear it? Want to get beat up? At this moment, Mira suddenly remembered something and said, by the way, Urza, there was a commission from the council a few days ago, an S-level task, which should be very suitable for you. Huh, S-class mission. That's it. Mira handed over the commission. After taking a look, Urza's pupils suddenly shrank. The contents of this commission did not arouse her surprise, but only a clue left by the commission shocked her. There is only one clue, and that is an emblem. Fantastic emblem. And this emblem, she saw at once on the chest of a guy named Neltharion a few days ago. That guy. Urza gritted her teeth, her expression slightly shaken. It's a dreamer. It's a ghost. Chapter 0587-Coincidence of Fate. The first update the Dream Emblem, designed by Robin, is a mysterious creature, which can be imagined as a Pokemon dream, and then a tail goes around in a circle. I remember writing it when I was a pirate. Really haunted. Urza was silent for a while as she faced the guild emblem that was entrusted to her. Seeing this, Mira asked suspiciously, Urza, do you know something? No, nothing. After a little hesitation, Urza didn't say anything about Neltharion, but said, I'll take it over. However, I didn't see Natsu, so I asked him something. Natsu, he seems to have gone to Halujin. Mira thought for a while and said, a few days ago, he heard about the appearance of a fire dragon over there, so he couldn't wait to go. Fire dragon Neil, like the iron dragon Metalicana, is a real giant dragon. Natsu was raised by a fire dragon since he was a child, and he was also taught knowledge, words, and even the dragon-killing magic of fire, which was taught to him by the fire dragon. But one day, to be precise, on July 7, 777, Fire Dragon 15 suddenly disappeared. Since then, Natsu has been looking for his adoptive father. Of course, this is what Natsu thinks, and it is much more bizarre than this. Really? Elsa nodded, turned her eyes, and suddenly looked at a shirtless teenager. Gray, come with me, I need your help. Me. The boy's full name is Gray Falpasta, with short jet black hair and drooping eyes. When Urza called his name, he had a dull expression on his face. Come on, we're running out of time. Urza frowned and urged. Yes, yes. Deterred by his eyes, Gray quickly agreed. Not to mention what happened in the Fairy Tale Guild, and not to mention the nearby Dream Guild, Yulusha shot the 4 people who were eavesdropping. In the Kingdom of Fury, there is a port city named Harujin. At this moment, a train leaves from here, heading for Magnolia. In a certain compartment of this train, Uchiha Itachi and Kageyama happen to be sitting on it. Lord Itachi, my mission has been completed this time, can you let me go? Kageyama said cautiously. 3 days ago, under the order of Deathwing, he and Uchiha Itachi went to unblock the magic flute, Curse Song. Now that the seal has been lifted, and the magic flute has been obtained, he is ready to return to the guild. After hearing his words, Uchiha Itachi just glanced at him and said nothing. 7. Compared to Kageyama, his attention is now focused on the man and woman on the opposite side. Both men and women looked like they were 16 or 17 years old. The man has short hair in the color of pearl, wears a black short jacket with corsets and sandals, a black wristband on his left wrist, and a white check scarf around his neck. The girl sitting next to the man has beautiful long blonde hair, a delicate face, and delicate facial features. The pair in front of the shang is plump, tightly wrapped by a tight sleeveless leather jacket, and a matching short skirt. And black boots. This man and woman just came up at Harujin Station. At this moment, the two are talking in a low voice. Natsu, don't you think the guy on the other side is wearing something weird? Really, I think it's cool, the man said feebly. By the way, why do we take transportation? Lucy, even if he's a handsome guy, you can't keep staring at him. A blue cat was lying between the two of them, and ruthlessly complained, Lucy is a lascivious guy. It's not. Hearing this, Kageyama suddenly cast his gaze. Talking cat. No, wait, this emblem on your shoulder fairy tale. He looked at Natsu with an air of alertness. Uchiha Itachi raised his hand, motioned him to step back, and said, to meet in a place like this, should I say that you are unlucky, or I am lucky? Natsu Dragon Kneel. Hearing this, the young man who had been mentally weak suddenly froze. You know me. Of course, I know not only you, but the fire dragon you've been looking for. Between the words, Uchiha Itachi quickly sealed the seal. Fire escape, the art of fireball. Puff. He opened his mouth to spit, and suddenly a huge fireball suddenly spit out, and suddenly bombarded the two people and one cat in front of him. This attack came so suddenly, no one expected that he would suddenly make a move. Even Kageyama was startled, and hurried back to avoid being affected by the fireball. The girl named Lucy screamed, and the next moment, the two were swallowed by flames. Boom! With a bang, the integrated carriage vibrated, making a crackling sound, as if it would break at any time. There was a raging fire in the carriage, and many passengers screamed and fled to other carriages quickly. At this moment, all the flames were quickly absorbed as if they had encountered some kind of vortex. Seeing the flames, Natsu took a breath and swallowed all the flames. Attack me all of a sudden, I don't even know you. But thank you for your hospitality. Natsu hiccuped, holding one hand against the wall of the train, and said, you said just now that you know a fire dragon. Could you please clarify this point? What do you mean by attacking us suddenly? Lucy, who had lingering fears, couldn't help but show a trace of hostility. Thanks to the flame, Natsu could swallow it in one bite, otherwise both of them would be injured. He. Uchiha Itachi chuckled twice and calmly got up from the seat. Along with his movements, in his eyes, 3 slowly turning black hooks suddenly accelerated and turned into the shape of a big windmill. Kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. The dragon's lungs can spew fire, the dragon's scales can melt the fire, and the dragon's claws can wrap the fire. The dragon-killing magic of fire is an ancient magic that transforms itself into a dragon's constitution, an ancient magic used to fight giant dragons. Between the words, Uchiha Itachi's whole body overflowed with orange, yellow chakra, turning into a huge shadow of a samurai. Susano. What? Natsu was taken aback. What is this? Not magic? Who the hell are you? Not perceiving magic means, not magic-driven power. And at this moment, Susano, who enveloped Uchiha Itachi, wielding an orange sword, suddenly slashed. Since you want to know, tell me. I'm Itachi Uchiha, a ninja, from the most vicious dark guild in history. Dream. As soon as the voice fell, the big sword fell. Boom. The whole train shook violently, the carriage broke and collapsed under a sword, and the train was divided into 2. In the smoke and flames, Uchiha Itachi's voice sounded again. It's really a coincidence of fate. Natsu Dragon Kneel, Lucy Hatfilia. Chapter 0588 _ there are 3 more. A sword fell, and the train was cut off. Uchiha Itachi and others in the carriage all fell down. Natsu rolled on the spot, dodging the slash of Susano's great sword. Lucy was grabbed by hubby and flew into the sky, the blue cat with wings on its back that could fly. The smoke and dust were filled and slowly dissipated. Behind it, a half-length Valkyrie phantom, and Uchiha Itachi wrapped in phantoms were revealed. You bastard! Natsu said angrily, what do you want? At this moment, he had left the vehicle, and his spirit was fully recovered. Looking at Uchiha Itachi, he seemed extremely unhappy. In this regard, Uchiha Itachi didn't answer at all, and he didn't bother to talk nonsense. He controlled Susano again and swung his sword away. The huge orange sword, wrapped in a manic chakra, slashed towards Natsu with an unrivaled attitude. Since you're going to fight, I'll accompany you. His body moved, facing the big sword, and at the same time as he took a step, flames were already burning around him. This is not an ordinary fire, but a dragon-killing fire, a flame specially designed to kill dragons. The iron fist of the fire dragon. Quickly moving under his feet, Natsu avoided the slash of the orange sword to the limit, and suddenly approached Uchiha Itachi, and then suddenly punched. Boom! This punch bombarded the phantom of the god of war, but it only made a muffled sound and failed to break it. What a hard thing! Natsu Vivi was surprised. He. Uchiha Itachi chuckled and said, "The power of flames is indeed good, but your physique is too weak." The flame wraps the fist, enhances the power and destructive power, and can play a far beyond the normal fighting level. But the basic quality is too poor, and it is also a dream to defeat Susanoo. At this moment, Susanoo stretched out his left hand, turned it into a fist, and slammed it down. Seeing this, Natsu immediately retreated to avoid the blow. Boom! The huge fist bombarded the ground, causing a strong vibration. The railway was destroyed by one blow, the rails were rolled, and I don't know where it flew. In midair, Lucy murmured in surprise, "What the hell is this? It's not magic, but it has such destructive power." Ninja. Hubby's eyes were serious. I saw it for the first time. Could this be ninjutsu? After all, what is the fantasy of the Dark Guild? They want to help, but seeing this situation, rushing into the battle will only hold them back. Moreover, another pineapple head is still not far away, and will not give them a chance to intervene. While Uchiha Itachi and that guy are fighting, can I escape? Kageyama's eyes flickered. He hesitated for a while, but didn't dare to escape. No, with the ability of dreams, you can catch me soon, it's better to be honest now. Quote. The wing strike of the fire dragon. At this moment, Natsu jumped up, and his arms were wrapped in flames, like the wings of a giant dragon, and suddenly slapped Susanoo. And LT, is less than or equal to. Equals QM. Two flame wings, like long whips, whipped away. V. With a snap, it hit Susanoo's mouth, but only a little spark was raised. I said your magic power is too low. Uchiha Itachi said lightly, his eyes narrowed, and suddenly, Susanoo's great sword, like a javelin, was thrown violently. Attacking the target flying in the air, this sword is extremely fast, and it is in front of Natsu in the blink of an eye. Isn't that okay? Natsu took a deep breath, his cheeks bulged, and the next moment, a huge fireball suddenly spewed out, the roar of the fire dragon. Boom! A huge fireball, like a huge sun, suddenly fell. However, after this blow collided with the great sword, it collapsed in an instant, and the great sword, unabated, still shot at Natsu. Oops! Hubby secretly said, and immediately wanted to save people, but at its speed, it was too late. The next moment, boom! The great sword hit Natsu, knocking him out of the air. It landed on the ground, causing a huge explosion. With the loud noise, the great sword went half-length into the ground, but there was no Natsu there. Seeing this, Uchiha Itachi turned his eyes and suddenly looked to the left-hand side, using the propulsion of the flame to super-accelerate in the air. I can't see it, your head is not bad. No, it should be fighting instinct. Fire dragons. Natsu's body was full of flames, he raised his hands high, and a huge fireball gathered in his palms. Huang Yan. I've watched your dragon-slaying magic 5 times, and the analysis is complete. However, in the face of this blow, Uchiha Itachi was Isho, his eyes suddenly condensed. You do. The two looked at each other, and in an instant, Natsu's figure froze, and the magic power dissipated. The next moment, he thumped and fell to the ground with a face full of horror. At the same time, Uchiha Itachi's eyes left a tear of blood. Susanoo has used it too much, and the kaleidoscope writing wheel is overwhelmed, he thought to himself. It seems that I need to raise the star level when I go back, at least to the eternal kaleidoscope. Little, enough to consume. Quote. Natsu. Hubby yelled and flew over. Lucy was also stunned, she couldn't understand what was going on. Suddenly, Natsu fell, and it seemed like he had experienced some kind of great terror. He felt weak and extremely exhausted. What did you do to him? She couldn't help but ask aloud. Do you think I'd be stupid enough to explain my abilities to you? Itachi Uchiha glanced at him. Lucy Hatfilia, your father is looking for you. I will take you back and ask her for a ransom. He must be happy to give a satisfactory price. What? Relax, I'm not interested in this. Shaking his head, Uchiha Itachi dispersed Susanoo and walked slowly towards the fallen Natsu. On July 7, 777, the fire dragon Neil disappeared. Since then, 7 years have passed. Natsu Dragon Neil, your power is really weak compared to your brother. My brother. Natsu raised his head with difficulty, his eyes extremely tired. Do you want to know who you are? Want to know the whereabouts of the Fire Dragon King? When I finish transcribing your magic, maybe I will tell you. Between words, Uchiha Itachi was already close to Natsu, less than 5 meters away. However, at this moment, a figure approached rapidly. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had already stopped between the two. Huh? Uchiha Itachi Vivi paused and looked intently. I saw the person who came with an orange head and a black cloak on his shoulders. Kildith, Happy said with wide-eyed eyes, it's Kildith. Saved. Yo, hubby, just as the mission was over, on the way back, I felt that there were magic fluctuations here, and it was still a familiar atmosphere. Gildas said hello, then looked at Natsu. I haven't seen you in a few years, you have grown up, Natsu. Seeing this, Uchiha Itachi's eyes flashed and he whispered, Amaterasu. Wherever the line of sight reaches, the focus converges, and it is Kildus that is locked. The next moment, a black flame suddenly rose up. What? Kildus instinctively felt the danger, his body shook, and immediately shattered his upper body clothes, and at the same time quickly retreated, only then did he avoid the fate of being engulfed by Amaterasu. The magic of the eye. He looked at Uchiha Itachi in disbelief, and his pupils shrank at a glance. That emblem on your forehead. Deathwing. Oh. Uchiha Itachi raised his eyebrows. Know the emblem of my dreams. It seems that you have seen Lord Deathwing. What does that destroy dragon have to do with you? Gildas said solemnly. Lord Deathwing is one of the 4 great masters of my dreams. 4. Gildas was shocked and paled in horror. Like that terrifying giant dragon, do you still have 3 heads? Chapter 0589 _ Hunting the Dragon Slayer. Open black lens bracket. The 3rd update yesterday _ close black lens bracket. Like that terrifying dragon, there are actually 3 heads. Gildas looked horrified, and his heart shook. Not only that, they are not the same as the black dragon Akunorokia, they seem to be the same organization, which is terrible. Just imagining the arrival of 4 giant dragons might easily wipe out a country. Simply a disaster. Gildas took a deep breath, looked at Uchiha Itachi in disbelief, and said, You said, dream, just now. What is that? Hearing this, Uchiha Itachi didn't reply, just glanced at the other party lightly, and then turned around. Let's go, Kageyama. Huh, ah, yes, Lord Itachi. Kageyama was stunned, and quickly followed. Wait. Seeing this, Natsu, who was lying on the ground, shouted anxiously, Tell me. Where is Dragon Neil? Don't run. Want to know? Uchiha Itachi did not stop, and walked away without looking back. If you want to know, come and find it, I will wait for the dream to know all the truth. When you really find me, you will naturally know everything, including your fallen into the dark. Brother goodbye, young dragon. Between the words, his distant figure suddenly scattered into countless dark crows, and the dark crows fluttered and disappeared quickly. Go away. Lucy breathed a sigh of relief. What a dangerous person. 980 inches damn. Natsu clenched his fists and was very angry. This anger was half of his own powerlessness and half of his fear of, Yudu. In Yuaju's space, he has experienced 3 days and 3 nights, died, countless times, and has not been able to get rid of it until now. Are you okay, Natsu? Gildas crouched down and stretched out a hand. Seeing this, Natsu held the opponent's hand and slowly got up from the ground. His spirit was low, and he was different from his usual cheerful appearance. Kildith, I want to be stronger. I'm too weak right now, there's nothing I can do about that guy. Well, if you lose the battle, you have to win it back next time. Gildas grinned and said, this is the man. However, that organization is very dangerous, don't go looking for it lightly. Natsu didn't listen to this at all, not even at all. Gildas shook his head and said, this time I went out to perform a 100-year mission, what did you meet me? 100-year mission. Natsu's eyes lit up, and he raised his head, how is it? I met a dragon. Gildas sighed, in Lingfang Zuania, I was attacked by a black dragon, which is an extremely dangerous guy. After facing it once, I completely understood that dragons and people are two completely different things. A level. If it wasn't for being rescued by another dragon, some parts of my current body might have been eaten. What? Natsu was shocked. From these words, he heard two dragons, and it was said from Gilda's mouth, which meant that it was a real dragon. Black Dragon Akunorokia, Destruction Dragon Deathwing. Gildas patted him on the shoulder and said, let's go, let's talk as we walk. That man earlier didn't have a forehead guard on his forehead. Pattern. That pattern, I saw it once on the Black Dragon Deathwing. Meanwhile, on the other side. In a tunnel running through the canyon, Itachi Uchiha and Kageyama walked side by side. Lord Itachi, why did you attack that fire dragon just now? Unable to stand the silence along the way, Kageyama couldn't help but ask a little doubt in his heart. You don't have to know. Oh then why, suddenly stopped? Do you want to die for a try? Uchiha Itachi glanced at him, and Kageyama was so frightened that he was silent. Why stop? Of course, lost interest. Anyway, Natsu will be captured by Yulusha, since Gildas suddenly appeared. Fortunately, no time was wasted. Moreover, compared to the fire dragon, the other heavenly dragons, white dragons, and shadow dragons should be included in the arrest list. Let's go back to the guild first. Zala couldn't help but snorted, one of the 10 great wizards sitting on the throne of the president. Easy to destroy my missing body, the elemental life, the magic power is very strong. After a pause, he said with a gloomy face, and it's a mysterious dark guild dream. Where did this group of people come from? He was very unhappy, the missing body was destroyed, it was nothing, it didn't have much impact on him, the iron cage and the earth element were caught, it was the problem. Thinking of this, he immediately called, Alia. Yes, President Joseph. The voice sounded out of thin air, and then the light changed, and a burly man slowly appeared. The man was blindfolded, dressed in a long robe, and had a simple and honest face with Chinese characters. As the head of the 4 elements, you go to investigate the situation, don't do it lightly, that is not an enemy you can deal with. Yes. With a sound, Alia's body disappeared again, like a gust of wind, blown away in the blink of an eye. When the others disappeared, Joseph slammed on the armrest and snorted, that kind of elemental life should be used by me. However, I am afraid that I am a little insufficient, and I have to find a collaborator. He is also not sure about the power of the Fantasy Guild, but to be on the safe side, it is the wisest judgment to find a helper. Fantasy Guild. Today, the guild building has exploded because of the birth of the Lord of Elements, leaving only a wreckage. At this moment, above the wreckage, stood a cross, with the Iron Dragon Gajiru tied to the shelf. I have finished analyzing your Iron Dragon Slayer magic, so I'm a little sorry. Qinyang said softly, controlling the Lord of Elements and grabbing it with one hand. This hand shrouded Gajiru's head, as if drawing out the opponent's soul, transcribing the opponent's magic. Ah! Gajiru screamed and yelled angrily, what did you do to me? Shut up, save your strength, or die. It lasted for a full minute, and the complicated dragon-slaying magic turned into a strange mysterious rune, which was branded in the right palm of the Lord of Elements. After the completion, Qin immediately observed. The runes are silver and iron, and are extremely complicated, much more complicated than the previous ones. The mysterious power contained in this rune is more than double that of Urza's. Obviously, when the two of them fight, Urza is still stronger. Qin pondered. It seems that there is no direct relationship between the strength of the mysterious rune and its master's combat power. Not only that, this mysterious rune of Iron Dragon Slayer magic seems to have a more special purpose, far more than simply absorbing it as a mysterious power. Save it first, and then study it carefully after I collect the rest of the dragon-slaying magic. Qin thought to himself, it seems that dragon-slaying magic is much higher and deeper than ordinary magic, and it is closer to the abyss of magic. Thinking of this, he glanced at the ruins, and immediately shook his head. The guild stronghold I just found was destroyed. Forget it, let's go hunt the dragon slayer first. The next target, get closer Tianlong. Chapter 0590-Dragon's Breath. Dragon, Grandin. As one of the giant dragons, this dragon, like the fire dragon Neil, is currently sleeping in the body of a dragon slayer. And the dragon slayer of the sky should be a little girl, a little lowly, whose name is Wendy Mabel, a member of the guild Demon Cat's House. Of course, to hunt Tianlong, there is no need to go there in person, it is enough to send an illusory body. Thinking of this, Qin thoughts moved, and a white light was projected from the forehead of the Lord of Elements. The white light fell to the ground and quickly turned into a bewitching man. The man has golden fox eyes and a smile on the corner of his mouth. I haven't appeared for a long time, and I still need to get used to the power of this body a little. The nine-tailed demon fox moved its body, nodded to the Lord of Elements, and then left quietly. The demon cat's house is not too far from here. It seems that I have to absorb some combat power in the future, and it is also tiring to let my phantom body work all the time. Shaking his head, Qin did not continue to pay attention to this issue for the time being. He slowly moved to the front of the cross, stretched out his left hand, a little. Immediately, the elements of water converged and turned into a heavy rain of drifting, awakening the unconscious Gajiru. First injured, then transcribed by magic, and now drenched in heavy rain, Gajiru was already in a very weak state. Without magical protection, he couldn't help but sneeze, his face turned pale. When he looked up and saw the Lord of Elements, his expression changed slightly. You bastard, what did you do to me? He already felt that his magic power was lost, and the source of magic power in his body seemed to be empty and lifeless. Don't worry, you will recover naturally in 2 or 3 days. Qin said lightly. Do you have a younger brother named Roger Cheney? I don't know. Roger Cheney is the Shadow Dragon Slayer, the child taught by Shadow Dragon. Is your mouth tough? Qin Isho said. About July 7, 777, your adoptive father Metalikana disappeared. You don't want to know, where is he? Now is 784, which is 7 years ago. Who cares about it? Disappears without a word, it doesn't matter where he goes. He. Qin chuckled twice and said, your memory is not necessarily correct, what you know may also be false. However, I do know where Tai Long is. Not only do I know, but if you want to see it, you can now see. What? Hearing this, Gajiru finally changed his face, but quickly regained control of his expression. What's your purpose? If absorbing his magic power is the other party's goal, there is no need to talk nonsense with him now. Obviously, the other party's purpose is more than that. Me G9. Sure enough, I still want to know, then I will tell you directly. Qin stopped playing dumb riddles and said bluntly, the Iron Dragon is in your body. What did you say? Gajiru frowned and said angrily, in my body. If so, I can't feel it myself. Of course you don't feel it. Who do you think you are? Qin pouted and said, dragon-slaying magic has a huge flaw. If you use it too much, your body will turn into a dragon, just like a Kunorokia, it will turn into a black dragon. A pause, he said playfully. Calculate carefully. Since 777, you have used dragon-slaying magic almost every day for 7 years, but have you become a dragon? No, if there is, it is only a little bit. Do you think, who is helping you suppress the dragon transformation? Hearing this, Gajiru's expression changed completely, as if he couldn't believe this fact. Regarding the dragon transformation, he vaguely felt a little bit. For example, when using the dragon-slaying magic, once the duration is too long, there will be slight traces of dragon scales on his skin. These traces are mainly concentrated on the side face and arms. But as long as he rests for a while, it will soon dissipate. Now that I think about it, there is indeed a force that is restraining his dragon transformation. Metallicana, inside me. He lowered his head and looked at his bare port, his expression very shaken. And the way to awaken the iron dragon in your body is also very simple. Chinyang Isho, the Lord of Elements, immediately cast light and shadow, and quickly turned into a man. After taking the conversation, the man continued, as long as you suffer lethal damage and cause serious problems with your body, it will have to wake up. Between the words, the man's right hand turned into a claw, and black dragon scales appeared on it. Dragon's claw. Puff. This claw sticks out, directly chaw into Gajiru's Shang mouth. The opponent lost his magic power. At this moment, he was no different from ordinary people except that the constitution was stronger than ordinary people. Facing Deathwing's dragon claw, Shang's mouth was like tofu, easily broken. Wow! Gajiru's face was as pale as paper, and he vomited out a mouthful of blood, and his right arm was easily stained red by donating blood. However, the next moment, a huge magic power was quickly born from Gajiru's body. The upward trend of this magic power is extremely fierce. In just a few seconds, it has reached the level of Saint 10, which is much higher than the previous Joseph's missing body. But this is only an instant. This magic power has surpassed the Holy 10. Roar. A dragon roar resounded, and then, Gajiru's whole body magic power quickly turned into a cannonball, soaring into the sky and rising into the sky. You forcibly woke me up. Dragon in the blink of an eye. The giant dragon's body is as smooth as steel, with no traces of scales, and a pair of wings, not like a black dragon, but like wings, with a dragon's tail section by section. Metallicana. Gajiru, who was dying, widened his eyes with a look of disbelief. Still as fierce as ever, Gajil. Tailong stared at Gajilu's words, and then aimed his eyes at Chinyang. From you, I feel the same kind of breath. Who are you? Similar. Don't be too arrogant. Don't compare yourself with low-level dragons like you. Chinyang couldn't help but sneer. My name is Deathwing. Roar. With a dragon roar, the next moment, his body shone with light, and suddenly rose into the sky. Long way hee. In an instant, within 100 miles, all creatures can feel a huge and suffocating aura. The giant dragon form of Deathwing, soaring in the sky. At this moment, all the magicians with high magic power in the entire kingdom of Fury changed their expressions. Dragon's breath. And it's plural. Impossible. What happened? That direction. Meanwhile, the Senate was in chaos. All kinds of magic guides monitoring the continent all sounded the alarm, and all kinds of harsh sounds were constantly resounding. One by one, the councils turned pale with astonishment, and they all looked at the direction of the birth of the magic vortex a few days ago. What's the matter? Contact Arusha. It's the breath of the dragon. You can't go wrong. It's definitely the magic of the dragon. The speaker looked gloomy and stood at the window, staring into the distance. His heart was extremely heavy, and he was speechless by the successive situations. The Holy 10, please. Who's the closest one? Makarov. Chapter 0591-Dragon Soul. In the territory of Fury Kingdom, 2 giant dragon breaths suddenly appeared, and the location where they appeared was where the elemental vortex was born a few days ago. This has to cause concern and reverie. The giant dragon has not appeared for many years, and almost all mages have only seen one or two from historical texts. Moreover, the most known is about the black dragon Akunorokia. Every time the black dragon appears, it symbolizes the end of an era, and it is the dragon that destroys the world in the Book of Apocalypse. But now there are two dragons. Is there anything more terrifying than this? Could it be that the world is about to usher in another great destruction? The speaker of the council said loudly, "Go and contact the Holy 10 Great Wizards, Makarov, Joseph, and Gerard." "Yes. Has Arusha not been contacted yet?" said one of the council members angrily. "What the hell is this woman doing? Let her investigate the elemental vortex, and there has been no report so far." That there was contact, but there was no response from the other side. Being able to contact means that the other party is safe and sound, and if there is no response, it means that the other party has ignored the communication. "It's a bad day." An elderly woman's face darkened. Among the commentators, Chikrane, the youngest, sat calmly in the chair with a smile on his face. It really became interesting. He played with the poker in his hand, but he thought back to the night a few days ago. Dream. Fantasy Guild stronghold, above the sky. Deathwing and Midorikana confronted each other, and the breath of two giant dragons enveloped the world, casting a shadow on this area. Gajiru, who was tied to the cross, stared blankly at this scene and fell into a state of sluggishness. Deathwing. Tai Long spit out words and said doubtfully, "I haven't seen you. In that era, I haven't seen you. Who are you?" The era he was referring to was, of course, 400 years ago. In those days, there were many dragons. "Of course you don't deserve to know of my existence." Qinyang flickered calmly and said, "I am the Black Dragon King." Dragon and Dragon King, that is a huge gap. Hearing the word, Dragon King, suddenly, Tai Long couldn't help being stunned. Black Dragon King. What's your relationship with Akunorokia? Akunorokia is the Black Dragon, or the Magic Dragon. Speaking of the name of the Black Dragon, Medalikana's first reaction was this. "You said, the source of evil." Qinyang Isho seemed a little disdainful. "I just had a fight with it some time ago. That guy is really timid as a mouse, but I tore one out. Claws, they fled, I do not know where to hide, and licked the wound." "How is it possible?" Tai Long didn't believe it at all and said, "It is the King of Dragons. In that long time ago, it slaughtered many giant dragons." A long time. A mere 400 years is worthy of the word, long far. It really makes the dragon laugh. Qinyang laughed Isho, and said, "My life is 100,000 years. I have witnessed the end of many civilizations, and I have also seen the fall of countless abyss. I just didn't expect to take a nap, and the world will be called by a small black dragon. The king reigns supreme." This is half-truth. Deathwing has indeed lived for 100,000 years, but it refers to the real Deathwing, not Qinyang's phantom body. Of course, to say this is just to make up a story, even if it's too bizarre and incredible. After hearing his words, Tai Long fell into a state of confusion, unable to keep up with the rhythm. Because of Qinyang's words, the exposed information was so huge that his brain fell into a brief confusion. Moreover, if you dare to call Akunorokia a little black dragon, you will be the only one in the world. 100,000 years. It murmured in a low voice. What a huge value this is, even for a giant dragon. It is an unimaginably long time. In the past 100,000 years, perhaps the civilizations on the mainland have been replaced many times. It's as if 400 years ago, a giant dragon fell from the top of the continent and humans began to dominate the world. "Are you an ancient dragon?" Tai Long said in disbelief. "How is this possible? Even the dragon family can't survive for such a long time." I said, "Don't take low-level dragons like you and make comments with me." Qinyang sneered again, saying, "Especially a half-dead dragon like you, with only a trace of the dragon's soul left, and you still need to sleep in the human body to survive. If I were you, I would have planted myself long ago, saving the dragon now." He didn't hide the disgusting expression on his face. Tai Long said angrily. Everything we do is just to deal with. Halfway through the words, he swallowed it again. They have been planning for 400 years. The purpose is to kill the black dragon. But the black dragon doesn't seem to be the opponent of the dragon in front of him at all, if the other party's words are true. Thinking of this, Tai Long calmed down. I was almost led astray by you. What did you want to do when you woke me up? Pause, he added. It doesn't matter what it is. My last trace of strength is about to dissipate, and it's not bad to see the ancient dragon race before it disappears. Do you want to live? Qin Yang said calmly. Although I have been sleeping, I still know what happened 400 years ago. A mere black dragon. No, it is not even a real dragon, it is just a dragon because of dragon slayer magic. This guy can actually force the dragon clan into such a desperate situation, which is really disappointing to me. Quote. Live, Tai Long was startled. If there is a way to survive, why should they sleep in the human body? They have already tried to kill the black dragon. Back then, the black dragons used dragon-slaying magic to extract their dragon souls, which forced them to be in a half-dead state. However, there might be a way for this mysterious ancient dragon in front of him. A glimmer of hope flashed in the Iron Dragon Metallicana's eyes. If the other party has any plans, it seems that it is not necessary in its dying state. Meet you. Roar. Qin Yang let out a dragon roar, only to see behind him, the void was distorted, and the phantoms of dragon souls continued to emerge. That is the soul of a group of dragons, with 1 head and 2 heads, 3 heads and 4 heads, the number of which has reached hundreds in an instant. Dragon soul. Metallicana looked at this scene in shock. I haven't seen it before, I haven't even seen one, and the aura of every dragon soul is so powerful. At this moment, he believed a little bit about the 100,000 years, that Qin Yang said. I am afraid that only the more ancient dragons can match the strength displayed by the other party. If you want to live, then I will let you live. Qin Yang spoke loudly. The next moment, the dragon's soul turned into pure energy and quickly moved towards Metallicana. In the final analysis, the reason why this iron dragon can't survive is just the lack of dragon soul. As long as this point is made up, it will naturally survive. Of course, this supplement, after all, is not his original dragon soul. Even if his strength and life are restored, Qin Yang is not sure what will happen to the Iron Dragon at that time. Resurrection, I will open the next era of dragons. Chapter 0592 Formed Dragon Army. Yesterday's third update the cervical spine is getting more and more uncomfortable. After finishing this chapter, I will go to the master to massage left pointing arrow. Left pointing arrow recently busy with lifelong affairs. The update is a bit unstable, sorry. Resurrection. Accompanied by Qin Yang's high-pitched words, the power of the divine artifact, the dragon's soul, differentiated into a trace, nourishing the soul of Metallicana that was about to dissipate. This is a very pure dragon soul. Although the dragons in this world are slightly different, as a supplement of energy, it fits very well. Roar. Tai Long felt the revival of the breath of life, and immediately let out a happy dragon roar. Under the excitement, its gradually weakening body quickly became solid. Its magic power is restored, the dragon soul is completed, and everything is returning to its peak state. Thank you so much, Deathwing. Iron Dragon Metallicana spoke in shock, and was extremely surprised by what happened to him. My soul has been filled, although I lost my body, but now I am stronger than before. Even Gajiru below heaved a sigh of relief. Although he didn't know the specific situation, he could still hear that Metallicana almost disappeared. However, being saved by the wings of Death 15, the situation is no longer so critical. However, having said that, these guys first absorbed his magic, then pulled the Iron Dragon out of his body, and rescued it. What was the purpose? Open the next era of dragons. He. Qin Yang chuckled, and in an instant, the phantoms of the dragons dissipated in the sky and the earth. I made up for your missing soul, but there are side effects. You should be able to feel it right away. As he spoke, the Iron Dragon Metallicana's eyes narrowed. He was surprised to find that the magic power in his body was no longer the simple attribute of the past, but carried a part of the breath of the earth and the aura of destruction. It turns out that my power has been polluted. However, there is nothing I can do. I still have to thank you. At least it is much better than dissipating it all at once. Metallicana nodded to Qin Yang, showing a trace of respect. Being able to solve its problem so easily, now, he completely believes that the other party is an ancient dragon. An ancient dragon that is older, much older than 400 years ago. By the way, in fact, besides me, there are a few guys who are in a similar state to me. Suddenly, it said in a deep voice, Dragon Neil, Grandin, Beslokia, Shikiadora. Pause, he said again, Dear Black Dragon King, can you please take action and save them? This request is a bit unknown, but considering that the 5 of them have similar experiences, Tai Long still had to ask. I was going to do that. You needn't worry. Qin Yang said calmly, I will start the era of giant dragons. You are the few giant dragons left in this world. If you can save one, you can save one. Resurrect the dragons, become the king of dragons, lead the dragon clan, and become a fantastic dragon army. If you encounter some kind of more difficult world in the future, you can directly open the illusion world, let the dragon army conquer it, and sit at home and wait for the result. Of course, just a few giant dragons are not enough. Therefore, Qin Yang has already begun to think about how to open a door connecting 400 years ago and capture those giant dragons from 400 years ago. However, this is not urgent, it is more important to collect the mysterious runes slowly now. Thank you, Black Dragon King. Iron Dragon Metallicana nodded gratefully, I have just recovered my dragon soul, and I still need some time to cultivate. If the Black Dragon King has instructed me, please feel free to speak later. Of course there are times when you need your service. Hearing this, Metallicana nodded and looked down, it's still so fierce, Gajiru. Don't you want to say something after a 400-year reunion? Seeing that it still had the same expression, it smiled again, forget it, you don't know yet, but you will know soon. I will stay in your body for a while to cultivate and help you suppress the dragon transformation. Between the words, he turned into a light of black iron and returned to Gajiru's body. The next moment, Gajiru was shocked. He only felt that his magic power was recovering, and even the Dragon Slayer magic could be used again. Not only that, but his injuries were also healed in a short period of time. Recovered. Gajiru felt the full power, and immediately shook, shattered the cross, and jumped down from it. Seeing this, Qin Yang fluttered his wings and descended slowly. Do you understand now, young Iron Dragon? Hearing this, Gajiru was silent for a while, and looked at Deathwing for a moment before saying, although I don't know the specific situation, I am very grateful that you saved Metallicana. Do you think it's free? Qin Yang Isho said, in the future, Tilong will be my younger brother, you are my younger brother's younger brother, and you will all be included in my giant dragon army. Hearing this, Gajiru was silent for a moment, then knelt down on one knee, see Lord Deathwing. Having said that, he also had to abandon his past identity. Don't be so rigid, I have something to say. Qin Yang said. Next, I'll let you go back to the ghost, and spread a message by the way. Please order. In the place where the magic vortex was born, the Lord of Elements fought with 2 giant dragons, and all 3 were lost. You just need to spread the news to the outside world. Yes. Gajiru was stunned, and he always felt that these guys were going to do something big, but he had to obey. No, it would be better to say that he was also curious about what the group wanted to do. Then I'll retire first. Saying that, he got up and left. Watching the other party walk away, Qin Yang was Isho. He didn't change back to his human form, but just lay on the ground and rested quietly. It's really surprising, this mighty dragon is also a member of the dream. At this moment, Yulusha, who went back and forth, walked over slowly. In her hands, she also carried the 4 wizards of 847, the 4 little mice who had previously eavesdropped on her and the Lord of Elements. I'll leave this to you. Seeing this, the Lord of Elements waved his left hand, causing a burst of frost, freezing the 4 and turning them into ice sculptures. Be respectful. This is the great master of my dreams, one of the 4 masters, Lord Deathwing. 4 great masters. Yulusha's eyebrows twitched fiercely, her heart skipping a beat. Although I don't know what kind of position the master is, it is definitely not the leader. Does this mean that there are more terrifying existences on top of this? The Qin Emperor. Seeing to see through her mind, Qinyang opened a dragon's eye and stared at the other party. Woman, your test is to catch the fire dragon Natsu. I didn't give you a time limit. It's not that there is no time limit. I wait until my patience runs out. Until then, you'd better get the job done. It's really impersonal. Yulusha did not panic, but smiled. I heard your conversation with Gajiru just now. It seems that you have a big plan. In that case, I will help you. Saying that, she turned and left, and at the same time took out a crystal ball. The magic power was input, and the crystal ball lit up. Lord Yulusha, I finally got in touch with you. How is your situation? The situation, it's very bad. She gently Isho, double dragons fight, elemental life is devastated. If you don't do something, the world will come to an end. Chapter 0593 Holy 10 Wizards. First, the elemental vortex lasted for 3 days, and then there were 2 terrifying dragon breaths. What happened one after another can no longer be taken lightly, and the council's response was very quick. They contacted the 10 magic guides of the Holy 10, and they were going to ask the 10 to take action. At this moment, outside the Dream Guild ruins, Yulusha was holding a crystal ball and talking to the council. Soon, there was a contact person on the opposite side, who was the Speaker of the Senate. Yulusha, how's the situation? The speaker looked solemn. Why haven't there been a report for 3 days? It's a little troublesome. Yulusha said indifferently. The elemental life was born in the elemental vortex, which is very powerful, close to the level of the Holy 10, and then 2 giant dragons appeared, fighting each other, but all 3 were injured. I took this opportunity to escape so that I can contact you. It turned out to be like this. Speaker did not suspect him, but murmured in shock, why did you fight? I don't know, but this matter seems to be related to the mysterious dream. That elemental life was created by the Dream President. Yulusha smiled, without any panic. Create life. The speaker was startled, and cold sweat could not help showing on his forehead. The great magician of the abyss. How is it possible? In the abyss of magic, only a wizard of that level can create life. But the speaker does not believe it. There is no such thing as a great wizard of the abyss in this world. Even Jeff has been dead for many years. He has never heard of anyone who can achieve this level for hundreds of years. Thinking of this, the speaker took a deep breath and said, Yulusha, this is no longer something you can handle alone. We have already contacted the 10 great magicians and entrusted them to investigate the specific situation. You are there for the time being. Stand by, ready to meet them. Quote. They. Yulusha raised her eyebrows. More than one. I contacted Joseph, the Ghost's president, and Makarov, the president of Fairy Tale. Both of them are great wizards with deep magic power, and they are the closest, so they should be able to catch up. In fact, I still want to contact Gerald. This person is also the top 10 magic guides, but his whereabouts are uncertain, and there is no real contact method. I see. Then, the situation is more chaotic now, so cut off the connection first. Saying that, Yulusha put away the crystal ball and looked at Deathwing. 2 of the 10 great sages are coming here, and they will be there soon. 2 Holy 10s. Deathwing raised his eyelids. Yes, although less than expected. It's not the 2 of them, they're both guild leaders. I'm afraid they also brought some guild members. Yulusha reminded. That would be best. Qinyang Isho, he will not dislike too many mysterious runes, of course, the more people who come, the better. Seeing this, Yulusha frowned slightly and couldn't help asking, "Can I ask, how are you guys going?" "You don't need to know." Chinyang glanced at her, changed the conversation, and said, "No, it's okay to tell you. I'm waiting for the situation to be chaotic, forcing your council to use some kind of weapon." Hearing this, Yulusha was startled. For the first time, a noun popped up in my mind. The magic wizard power, the strategic weapon of the council, is a kind of transcendent time and space destruction magic. In Chinyang's words, it is a weapon of mass destruction similar to the atomic bomb. Is it actually it? Yulusha's heart was stern, and she cursed a lunatic. Although I don't know exactly what Dream wants to do, it should probably be because of the huge magic power of the magic wizard power. However, if you want that kind of power, the premise is that you can survive under the attack of the magic wizard power. That kind of weapon can completely annihilate a country with one shot. You can use your identity to exert influence on the council, Chinyang said calmly. Of course, now you should go and catch the fire dragon Natsu first. Hearing this, Yulusha nodded, then turned and left. Finally gone. Chinyang shook his head. The reason why he told Yulusha was mainly to influence the council through the other party. As for whether it will be leaked, don't worry about it. Yulusha and the Senate were never one-sided. Thinking of this, Chinyang lay down on his head again and squinted quietly for a nap. At the same time, the body of the Lord of Elements began to disintegrate and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This is not to take back the phantom body. In the forced transformation period, the Lord of Elements cannot be taken back. The reason why it disappears is to disperse the entity of the Lord of Elements, transform it into pure water and fire elements, and spread in nature. I saw that above the earth, wisps of flames were born, and every inch of the land was frozen. Centering on the place where Deathwing slept, there were flames on one side and ice on the other, and these two forces were rapidly spreading outward, as if to completely erode this area. Since it's a big war, it has to look a little like after the war. Who will break in first? I didn't expect you to contact me. In a forest, President Joseph stood under a tree and stared at a piece of paper figurines flying in front of him. The voice of the words came from the paper man. It's hard to find your whereabouts. I came here with all my strength, and I didn't want to chat with you. Joseph snorted and said, You can't feel the movement in the south. What do you want to say? Paper said. An elemental life was born over there. Oh, elemental life, that's rare. It's very powerful, close to the level of magic power of the Holy Ten. Joseph smiled gloomily. Just now, the council also came to inform. It is said that there were 2 giant dragons there, and there was a big battle, and all 3 were injured. How about it? Let's join forces. I want elemental life. As for the dragon, whatever you want. The dragon is full of treasures. As the former overlord of the mainland, the dragon is synonymous with power. At the same time, the dragon's scales and horns on its body are extremely powerful magic materials. Hearing this, the paper man was silent for a moment before replying, yes. Not long after, a short old man came to a bare forest. It was no longer a forest, but a sea of fire, and the earth was burning. The surrounding temperature is as high as hundreds, and just standing on the periphery makes it hard to breathe. Makarov stared around and said in surprise, As far as the eye can see, the earth turns into a burning field of flames. Could it be that those 2 giant dragons are fire dragons? His body flew up in the air, a few meters off the ground. Looking further afield, you can see that the sky is filled with frosty air. No, if you look in the other direction, it should be ice. The ground is frozen, and the cold air is gathered together. Makarov said to himself, Ice dragon and fire dragon. The guys in the council are just making trouble for me. Dragon, that is a creature that has not appeared in many years. It is a disaster to have 2 heads at a time. To make matters worse, he still needs to investigate. However, as the Holy Ten Great Wizard, Makarov can only give it a try. Between the words, he fell again, stepped on the land of flames, and walked towards the central area. And as he stepped out, a holy magic of light quickly spread, dispersing and suppressing the flames. Come on. Meanwhile, in the central area, Deathwing opened his eyes. Chapter 0594_Cataclysm 1. Second update. I made a mistake earlier. The Holy 10 is Chicrane, not Gerard. I'll make some changes later. By the way, the three-headed dragon refers to the fact that the two dragons are fighting for the elemental life, not the two-headed dragon working together to deal with the elemental life. Close black lens bracket. What a miserable sight. What kind of fight is going on here? As he walked, the closer he got to the center, the more disturbing the sight Makarov saw. The periphery is still just an ordinary flame, but the circle near the center is already the fire of the elements. In the entire field of vision, the flames are raging, and even the atmosphere is burning. Humph! Makarov snorted coldly, and suddenly a powerful magic force radiated outwards, instantly dispelling all the flames, and extinguishing all the flames within 10 meters in front of him. It's completely unrealistic for me to clean up such a large area. I have to report to the Senate and let them take care of the aftermath. Thinking like this, Makarov's pace became faster and faster, and he kept approaching the center area. Although there is nothing wrong here, it can still be seen that there is a trail. At the end of the trail, the elements of water and fire are intertwined, forming a mist. In the back of the fog, there is a behemoth entrenched. Dragon. Makarov Vivi was startled and looked intently, sleeping. Are you injured? Still regaining strength? No, before that, wasn't there two ends? What about the other end? He was full of doubts, but did not dare to approach again. According to a preliminary estimate, the distance is less than 50 meters, and if we go further, we will definitely wake up to the 927 party. I don't know if it's an ice dragon or a fire dragon. Makarov thought to himself, a sneak attack while the other party is injured. He wanted to try it, but once he did, he would probably anger the dragon. And when his thoughts turned and he hesitated, Qinyang was already impatient. It's really boring. Wake up. Makarov immediately retreated more than 10 meters and looked alert. Interrupt my rest, human, you are killing yourself. Qinyang Vivi raised his head, and when he opened his mouth, raging fire spewed out. This flame turned into a shock, and suddenly shuttled dozens of meters away, swallowing Makarov at once. Seeing this, Makarov immediately raised his hand, and the magic of light formed a shield to keep the flames out. Wait, Fire Dragon, I have no intention of being your enemy. This stance of starting a fight on a disagreement is very in line with Julong's style. For Julong, human beings are like ants. The magic of light, Qinyang raised his eyebrows. As expected of the Holy 10, the level of magic is completely different from what he has seen before. With that, he got up and roared at Makarov. Roar! Giant dragons roar! The voice was extremely heavy, and a huge dragon's might suddenly enveloped Makarov's head. What a strong courage! Ordinary people can be shocked to death if they are yelled like this. Carrot. Makarov is not feeling well. The shield of light can't resist the dragon's roar. Julong, I'm really sorry to salvage you to sleep. But I don't mean to be your enemy, I'm just here to investigate the abnormality here. It's no use talking, human. Qinyang didn't bother to pay attention to it, he flapped his wings and set off a hurricane. Call. The powerful wind and waves blew out all the surrounding flames, and the next moment, the giant dragon's claws snapped down. Boom. The earth shook, and under this claw, a radius of 100 meters was instantly shattered. Makarov's body was unstable, and he immediately flew into the air. This is relying on powerful magic power to directly get rid of the gravitational bondage. It is not magic, it is simply that the magic power is strong enough to do this kind of thing. Seeing this, Qinyang's wings trembled and he immediately flew up. This time, the thick fog was blown away, and Makarov finally saw the appearance of this giant dragon. Where does it look like it's injured? It's completely intact. Did the other dragon lose? He thought to himself, this one should be the fire dragon. The ice dragon was killed. Where's the corpse? Or escape? His intelligence came from the council, and the council told him that the two giant dragons fought because of elemental life, and they all lost in the end. Bullshit, loses all three. Obviously this fire dragon won. And it was easy to win without even getting hurt. Thinking of this, Makarov was no longer ready to go further, and immediately prepared to evacuate. Not that I'm afraid of the giant dragon, the main reason is that there is no need to fight, and I can't fight it, so it's better to leave first. Seeing this, Qin snorted softly, want to go? Since you're here, there's no need to go. As he spoke, his wings fluttered, his speed suddenly exploded, and he flew over Makarov at once. The next moment, he vomited flames. The fiery fire was like a heavy rain, falling from the sky. Seeing this, Makarov's face darkened. It seems that he angered the other party, and he can't leave. Without any hesitation, he immediately stopped his figure, and the magic power around his body quickly spewed out, turning into a shock of light, welcoming the flames away. Boom! In the sound of the explosion, Qin Yang's dragon breath was scattered and fell everywhere. A bit warlike. Yes, as a human being, it is already very outstanding. With a playful mentality, Qin Yang uttered a dragon chant again, Earth Fission. Boom boom boom. All of a sudden, there was a big earthquake, as if under the ground, there was a huge monster rolling over. The mountain rose from the ground, turned into a giant rock hand, and slapped Makarov sharply. What? Makarov was dumbfounded. You're not a fire dragon. Never heard of fire dragons that can control the earth. In the face of this huge palm, Makarov is a fly in the air, and there is no time to dodge. Giant dragon transformation. At the critical moment, Makarov's body suddenly began to swell. Originally, he was just a little old man, but in an instant, before the giant rock hand fell, he had turned into a giant dragon with a body of dozens of meters, standing upright. Giant's bone fist. With a loud shout, Makarov punched the giant rock hand. Boom! With a muffled sound, the giant hand was broken by a blow, turning into gravel in the sky, flying around indiscriminately. Giant magic. Above the sky, Qin Yang hovered and nodded with satisfaction. Yes, these will be two very good magic runes. It is not uncommon for a magician to be proficient in several kinds of magic, but it is extremely rare to cultivate to an advanced level. Seeing the giant dragon looking at himself leisurely, Makarov had a dark face and said solemnly, You are not a fire dragon. What kind of dragon are you? What happened here? Where is the ice dragon? Where is the elemental life? He. Qin Yang chuckled twice, and said, My name is Deathwing, the guardian dragon of the earth, and also the destroyer dragon, the destroyer of destiny, the end of all things. I am a great disaster. Change. Roar. The dragon roar resounded through the sky. The next moment, the whole sky shook. The earth was surging, and in the cracked ravines, endless geocentric magma suddenly spewed out, turning into pillars of lava that shot up to the sky. The magic particles of nature suddenly began to decline and become thin. Elemental disorder, thunder bursts. The whole world, all of a sudden, fell into a world-destroying end scene. Makarov looked shocked, and there was an inescapable surprise on his face. Can you control not only the earth, but also the atmosphere? Control. HMPH, this is a cataclysm. Qin Yang snorted coldly and said, The cataclysmic changes that radiate the entire continent, if you describe it in a way you can understand, then the entire continent will fall apart and turn into pieces. Of course, this takes time. The cataclysm is continuous. As long as Qin Yang maintains it, it can sink the entire continent into the seabed. You can try to stop me with your 3 big, super magics, in fairy tale. Chapter 0595_Cataclysm 2. Feel sorry close black lens bracket. You can try to stop me with your 3, super magics, from fairy tale. Qin Yang circled the sky and looked down at Makarov. The so-called super magic is a super magic that is far superior to ordinary magic. Most of this magic is extremely destructive, or has absolute defensive ability. For example, Qin Yang's target, magic spirit power. This time, although it is a strategic weapon, in fact, its core still belongs to the category of super magic. Fairy Tail has 3 super magics. Now that he has met Makarov, Qin Yang is happy to transcribe this kind of super magic tilde. Makarov didn't react at first, but when he heard this, he finally realized that something was wrong. "You know me," he said solemnly. "Even if it is me, I know the famous 10 great magic guides." Makarov was not at all happy to be recognized by a giant. Moreover, he also realized that the other party did not attack him because he was disturbed at all. "It's useless to talk too much. If you don't stop me, the cataclysm will really begin." Between the words, the earth trembled more and more violently. Even in front of Makarov, a huge moat has appeared, bottomless, and the crimson magma from the ground is rolling out. The next moment, Qin Yang swooped down and bit Makarov in one bite. It must be stopped. Otherwise, the country is doomed. Makarov was awe-inspiring, and in the face of Deathwing's dive, he immediately took a stance and blocked it abruptly. Boom! The giant's feet sank into the ground. Makarov's face was blood-red. He held his breath, grabbed Deathwing's claws with both hands, and refused to step back. "After gigantic, the strength is not bad," Qin Yang praised, and then the dragon's tail flicked, and with a snap, Makarov's huge body was blown away. With a grunt, Makarov rolled and flew hundreds of meters away like a ball. "But compared to the power of the giant dragon, your power is still far behind." Hearing this, Makarov kept coughing and a trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. He didn't dare to be careless, and when he saw Deathwing approaching again, he immediately punched him. Giant's bone fist. Boom! In an instant, his arm stretched, and his fist suddenly swelled several times. This fist covered the sky and the sun, like a celestial body, pushing it horizontally. Qin Yang did not dodge or evade, and directly greeted him. When the two collided, the impact overturned the surrounding earth, and in the roar, the earth collapsed, and the eyes were full of blue oh. "It's a monster." Makarov's expression changed. "This is the power of a giant dragon, Shan. He uses magic. Magic power strengthens the body, and even becomes huge, but the opponent is only brute force, and the result is that the opponent is much stronger." Close hollow corner bracket. B. Qin Yang let out a low laugh, clasped the giant's fist tightly with both claws, and then yanked Makarov to the other side. Boom! With a dull sound, Makarov was thrown from one place to another like a pendulum. The huge body hit the ground, and several bones were broken immediately. Crack! Makarov vomited blood, only to feel that after the right arm was torn, the bones were broken, and the ribs in Shang's mouth were even more broken. A melee fight is not an opponent at all. If you want to fight a giant dragon, I am afraid there is only a dragon slayer. Not daring to be a big man, he immediately lifted his giant transformation and regained his appearance as a little old man. "Oh, give up the resistance." Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and said, "Be good and let me swallow it." "This can't be done. Although I don't mean to be your enemy, I don't want to die here." Makarov took a breath, and he stretched out his right fingers and stroked in the air. With his movements, the magic of light was engraved in the air, forming a star map like the Big Dipper. Humans are inherently weaker than giant dragons, so they practice magic. In terms of strength, I am far from your opponent. Saying that, a magic circle suddenly opened, extremely complex, and extremely sacred, full of bright aura. As if everything in the world is beautiful, it dispels many evils in the world. My magic is light. Although I don't know why you know about the 3 super magic of Fairy Tail, I have no intention of going into it. Giant dragon, I count down 3 times, how about the battle so far? Makarov is extremely dignified. If possible, he doesn't want to fight this giant dragon at all. But in order to save his life, he also had to fight. And with his words, in the atmosphere, the light element is like a firefly in the night, constantly shining. In the cloudy sky, a huge magic circle with a diameter of several kilometers suddenly opened. The magic circle was even more complicated, so complicated that it couldn't be seen through at a glance. Seeing this, Qin was not in a hurry, and carefully analyzed the magic. 3. Makarov spit out a word, his face ugly. Qin was still staring at the magic circle and turned a deaf ear to it. 2. As the voice sounded, Makarov's magic power was rapidly rising, and the magic of light around him was like a bright moon, completely shrouding him. 1. When the last number rang, Makarov gritted his teeth and said, "Didn't answer. Then I'm sorry." He slammed his palms together, and with his movements, the magic of light around his body shrank rapidly, turning into a small ball of light, floating between the palms. Slaying the darkness with the holy fairy law. Boom! In an instant, the magic of light spread, and the whole world turned into a vast expanse of white. This magical power radiates in a radius of dozens of miles. If you look down from a high altitude, you can find that on the ground below, a huge ball of light covers the world. All beings in this sphere of light will be judged by fairies. Ha 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 ha. Qin grinned, his body moved, but changed from dragon form to human form. Is this the law of the goblin? Just read it once, and it really can't be resolved. It is indeed super magic. Kamarov, you can use a little more. Times. Quote. He just stood there in the sky, without even the meaning of defense, and let the laws of the goblin swallow him up. Swish. Everything was filled with divine light, and after dozens of seconds passed, the huge magic circle above the sky gradually disappeared. Makarov let out a light breath, but the next moment, his pupils shrank suddenly, and his face was full of disbelief. You. Qin put one hand in his pocket, looked at the other party calmly, and said, "This level of divine power is not as good as that of an archangel in my dreams, so you want to deal with me just because of this? No, did someone tell you that the giant dragon's magic resistance is very high?" Facing Deathwing in human form, Makarov was completely lost. He never thought that a fairy law could kill a giant dragon, but it didn't cause any damage. How is this possible? Suddenly, he saw an emblem in Qin mouth, and his expression was even more horrified. Dream. Chapter 0596 10. One of the three super magics of fairy tale, fairy law. This is, super judgment magic, crusades the darkness with divine light, regards the caster's heart as all targets of the enemy, and defeats the opponent spiritually. Qin understood this magic after he had endured it face to face once. Similar to the archangels, judgment of holy light, although the principle is different, the effect is similar, and they all directly attack the spirit. If it is other kinds of super magic, it cannot be said that it can cause some damage to Deathwing, but mental attacks cannot. Directly attacking the spirit is no different from attacking the phantom god of the body, and it can't cause much damage at all. It's like an ordinary person being scalded by a flame, and it doesn't matter. It's a pity, Makarov. Qin chuckled. Why don't you try it again? Maybe it will work this time. Hearing this, Makarov's face was extremely solemn. It was the first time he encountered such a situation. The emblem of your mouth, what is your relationship with the dream? I am the master of dreams. Hearing this, Makarov's pupils shrank, and a giant dragon actually joined a mysterious dark guild. No wonder the dreamy shadow demon dared to call himself the most vicious and vicious in history, in the council. This guild is just too terrifying. Suddenly, Qin raised his eyebrows and looked towards the north. Someone is here again. To avoid trouble, I'll take care of you first. Between the words, Qin right hand pressed against Shang's mouth. The next moment, a holy radiance shone, and then the radiance flew into the sky and quickly turned into a cloud of holy light. What? Makarov blurted out. Light magic. No, not magic, pure divine power. From that cloud of holy light, Makarov did not feel the activity of the light element. I saw that the cloud of holy light projected a pillar of holy light, and the figure of the 10-winged archangel within it was slowly descending. Angels are coming. Chinyang grinned Isho. Let's see what the real, goblin law, is like. This scene, in Makarov's eyes, has already made him speechless. God and envoy. The holy archangel spreads his wings, is incomparably holy, holy and flawless. A gaze was cast down, staring at Makarov, as if it were the eyes of a god, staring at mortals. I am the master of dreams, holy archangel. The archangel whispered, and his palms were lifted lightly. Suddenly, the power of the holy light was in full swing, and then he tapped lightly. Snapped. An endless cloud of holy light enveloped the world. In an instant, in a radius of dozens of miles, everything was under the radiance of this holy light. Mo_. This is the real, goblin law. Judgment of light. No, probably. Makarov opened his mouth blankly, full of disbelief. This familiar power is so similar to his goblin trial. The next moment, the world turned into a vast expanse of white. At the moment of being shrouded in divine judgment, Makarov's last thought was frozen forever. The law of fairies isn't the magic created by the first generation. The world is peaceful and holy light fills every corner. This place is like paradise, extremely peaceful, and the earth, which was originally undergoing cataclysm, has fallen into stagnation because of this. Outside this bare forest, two men stopped one after another. They were also illuminated by the holy light, but because this force did not come at them, the two were not directly attacked like Lu Makarov. This is the super magic of fairy tale. One of them, wearing a mask, said in shock, "No, it's not goblin law." He was very familiar with Makarov's magic, and he was 100% sure that this was definitely not the move Makarov used. Moreover, it has already appeared once before, and the sacred light of this second outbreak is even higher than the previous one. No matter how strong Makarov is, it is impossible to use it twice in a row. Damn, what's going on? Joseph's face was ashen, and he raised his hand to block the suffering of the holy light. What a disgusting power. His magic is darkness, the opposite of divine. Facing this kind of holy light, it is like encountering a natural enemy, extremely disgusting. The masked man was silent for a while, then turned around and left. The agreement is void, I'm leaving. Wait, are you afraid? Joseph said angrily, his expression changing. That's right, this thing was weird in the first place, but now I'm sure that there must be someone behind the scenes pushing it, and I'm not interested in being used as a pawn or cannon fodder. Man snorted coldly, if you want to die, you can move on. I'm not going to accompany you. After he finished speaking, he walked away. The surroundings were distorted like an illusion, and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Bastard! What an unreliable guy! Joseph's face changed and he was very angry. He looked at the bare forest, but there was a holy light in front of him, and it was difficult to see a trace of it. If it's just elemental life, I can do it alone, but those two giant dragons. Joseph narrowed his eyes. Alia doesn't know what she's doing, and she didn't report at all. He had previously sent the head of the 4 elements to investigate and inquire, but so far there has been no response. After hesitating for a while, Joseph still did not dare to move forward. Let's go first. Elemental life has to be considered in the long run. With an annoyed snort, Joseph resolutely confessed and turned to leave. However, just as he took a step, behind him, the elements of water and fire gathered in the air, quickly condensing into a huge eyeball. Come on, don't leave. Central region. After a few minutes, the holy light completely dissipated. Dissipated together, and the holy archangel. Makarov stood on the ground like a statue. His expression was sluggish, his skin was full of folds, and his body kept shaking, like an extremely old man, trembling. Chinyang fell down, walked to Makarov, stretched out his hand and shook it in front of him. Blind briefly. Shaking his head, Chinyang said in a low voice, The trial of the holy light is based on your heart. One step to heaven, one step to hell, but 1.9 has a silver lining. I don't know what you saw, but you are so scared. I have used it a few times before, targeting pirates, and basically the results are almost the same, and I am confused. Of course, Makarov is better, and he still retains a little self-awareness. If he leaves it alone, the other party will recover after a while. Don't worry, I won't kill you. I haven't finished analyzing your goblin laws. Chin-Yong, Isho, put his hand on top of Makarov's head, transcribing. In an instant, a mysterious power swept across Makarov, and even the soul was penetrated, as if he had been seen all at once. A few minutes later, 2 mysterious runes were born in Chin-Yang's palm. Giant magic, light magic. Looking at these 2 mysterious runes, Chin-Yang said with surprise, "What a strong mysterious power, even far beyond Gajiru's dragon-slaying magic." Chapter 0597_Magic Spirit Power. Giant magic, light magic. These are the 2 kinds of magic that have been analyzed from Makarov. After they are turned into mysterious runes, the mysterious power contained in them will surpass Gajiru's Iron Dragon Slayer magic. It's really strange. The level of dragon-slaying magic is higher than that of giant magic, but the mysterious power it contains is not as good as. A simple inference can only draw one conclusion. The more profound the magic, the stronger the mysterious runes condensed after transcribing. Makarov's understanding of magic is obviously more than that of Gajiru, which is why this situation occurs. It should be like this. Chin-Yang shook his head, without thinking more deeply. Forget it, the principle or something is not important at all. Just thinking about it, the water and fire elements around him converged and turned into the appearance of the Lord of Elements. No need to communicate, Chin-Yang also knew what happened. Joseph, the Ghost's president, ran away, but the Lord of Elements couldn't stop him. That guy wasn't as strong as Makarov, but he was very good at escaping. It's a pity, Chin-Yang said helplessly. But it doesn't matter, the monk can't escape the temple if he can. With Gajilu as an undercover agent on his side, it's easy to find him. Saying that, he raised his head and stared at the sky. His eyes seemed to penetrate without a close distance, and he saw some kind of equipment floating above the sky. Now that even the top 10 magic guides have been defeated and run away, it's time for the council to use the magic power of magic guides, right? Chin-Yang chuckled and said to himself, "Put a little more pressure on them." Between the words, he stretched out his hand, the cataclysm. Boom boom boom. The earth shook, and the originally broken earth became more and more chaotic at this moment. In the shattered moat, magma spewed, turned into pillars of lava, and rose into the sky. This scene is spreading rapidly with Chin-Yang at the center. Cataclysm. This is the power to destroy the world. At this moment, all over the world, all over the continent, all beings in disaster, like ghosts and wolves, are extremely miserable. Senate. Even the council, thousands of miles away, was experiencing a violent earthquake at this moment. The entire organization was in a mess, and the various instruments monitoring the magic power of the continent were all sending out harsh alarm sounds. No. Speaker. Neris volcano erupted. Port City, a huge tsunami is being set off in the direction of Harujin. In the territory of Fury Kingdom, a heavy rainstorm suddenly began. The largest rainstorm in history, the estimated rainfall may exceed the most in a century. A piece of information was presented in front of the speaker, making his face more and more ugly, and even a hint of fear. What the hell is going on? He sat on the speaker's seat, his lips trembling. Who is going to tell me what is going on in this world? One of the members of the House of Representatives remained silent, and in the midst of the violent earthquake, they were still able to maintain a little composure. Speaker, President Joseph's contact. A staff member came over and placed a communication crystal ball. Bring it here. The speaker hurriedly took the crystal ball, then input magic power, and a picture appeared in the ball. It was President Joseph. It's just that Joseph's appearance is not very good. His clothes are messy and he looks a little embarrassed. How's it going? Don't do it, that place is too dangerous. Joseph snorted softly. That guy Makarov arrived before me, I'm afraid he's already dead. With a giant dragon entrenched there, it's not easy for me to escape back. He didn't mention elemental life at all. The giant dragon. Have you seen the giant dragon? The speaker asked in a deep voice. You can ask Makarov about that, provided he is still alive. Joseph Isho, although the elemental life is not in hand, if Makarov is dead, he can laugh 3 times. Then you can find your own way, bye. Puff. The crystal ball's picture flashed, and the connection was directly cut off. Asshole. The speaker slammed on the table with a bang, annoyed. This has already happened, and you still care about the grudge between yourself and Makarov. Joseph and Makarov have never dealt with each other, because the guilds that belong to the Kingdom of Fury compete for the title of the strongest guild. Of course, there is a lot of grudge between the 2 presidents. What to do now? Asked 1 megapixel. As of now, only use that one. Speaker looked gloomy and gritted his teeth. Notify the magic troops and prepare to fill up with magic power. The giant dragon must not be allowed to cause more damage, otherwise not only Fury, but even the entire continent will be thrown into chaos. You don't need clear information, you can know just by guessing that the disasters happening all over the continent must be related to those 2 giant dragons. Magic spirit power. Chikrian has a distant vision, and he is the only one who can laugh among the people present. That kind of huge power will cause irreparable damage to the Kingdom of Fury. An old woman whispered, do you really want to use it? Even Saint Ten is difficult to deal with. Even if you haven't seen the power of giant dragons, you can still see a thing or two from the Book of Revelation. Is there any other way? Speaker said decisively, we can only try our best to reduce the scope of damage. So vote. 7 votes in favor, 1 abstention, 1 against, with Arusha absent. Proposal to use the magic spirit power to obliterate the giant dragon, passed. At the same time, the Fantasy Guild base. Above the sky, at an altitude of about 10,000 meters, the dark clouds were suddenly torn apart, forming a huge void. Then, a magic circle was suddenly born. In the huge magic circle, there was a square pattern. Inside the square, there was a circle. Inside the circle, there was another magic circle. In the 030 magic circle, it was still a square pattern. This back and forth is extremely complicated. Layer after layer of magic circles finally formed a huge light body that enveloped this world. Transcendent time-space destruction magic, launched by the magician of various attributes, is activated by the gathering of power of various attributes, and its power is enough to wipe out a country. Come on. Deathwing raised his head and showed a satisfied smile. After waiting for a long time, it's finally here. As he said that, he glanced at Makarov. The council is also forced to do nothing. I plan to give up even you, the top 10 magic wizards. Makarov is still sluggish, with only eyeballs, and Vivi can turn, showing that he still has a little intelligence. Shaking his head, Deathwing's mouth flickered with light, and then turned into a man. The man was dressed in white, and his temperament was ethereal. Qin Yang's face was as usual. He stepped out and slowly stepped up into the air. Standing in midair, directly under the magic wizard power, Qin Yang looked up at the huge magic circle above the sky. The next moment, the power of magic that judges everything, destroys everything, and destroys everything suddenly comes. In an instant, the dark sky was like day. Seeing this, Qin Yang didn't dodge or evade, just raised his right hand slightly and grabbed it towards Guangliang. Fantasy wiped out. Chapter 0598 _ Silly Council. Open black lens bracket. The third update yesterday _ close black lens bracket. The power of the magic wizard power is too huge. In order not to cause more damage to the Kingdom of Fury, the council adjusted the damage range, with the goal of erasing the mutation point for dozens of kilometers. At this moment, the light of judgment falling from the sky, pierced through the dark clouds, and fell straight to the Deathwing below. However, in between, in midair, Qin Yang's body stood in the air, looking at the dazzling sky with a calm expression. He slowly stretched out a palm and greeted him. Fantasy annihilated. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, the huge magic cluster cannon hit Qin Yang brazenly, engulfing him in an instant. However, this unimaginably huge magic power was wiped away by a force at the level of law the moment it touched Qin Yang's palm. All this happened in just a few seconds, and even if it was dozens of kilometers away, you could see the huge destructive power. As if on the other side of the horizon, a white sun rose. Before the sound could spread, the manic hurricane had already swept away. Within the range locked by the magic wizard power, countless tall buildings, mountains, rocks, plants, birds and beasts all turned to ashes under the hurricane. Meanwhile, the Senate. On the big screen, the strike screen played intermittently. The screen monitored by satellite magic. Because the magic power is too large, it is impossible to see the specific situation at all, and there are intermittent fragments on the blurred screen. Successful, successful, the speaker murmured nervously. He has proposed to use the power of Magic Wizard. If he can't quell this incident, he is afraid that he will have to take the blame and resign later. Have you succeeded? A thin old man said intently. In the face of this destructive force, even a giant dragon cannot survive. If it were the 10 great magic guides, he would be dead in an instant. Everyone only knows that the giant dragon is very strong. How strong it is, and where it is strong, then it is unknown. Inferred from common sense that even if a giant dragon faces the power of magic wizards, even if it does not die, it will be seriously injured. No, that is. Chicrane frowned. What is that? Can you zoom in on the picture? No. It's already the limit. A commentator shook his head. Satellite magic is not omnipotent. If it can be magnified, do we still need to send Arusha to investigate the situation? Just look at it. It is incomparable with satellites in the technological world. Satellite magic is at most an overhead view. In the picture, the destruction range of dozens of kilometers only occupies half of the screen. At this moment, the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, and several minutes have passed since the magic spirit power fell. You can see that the original forest and mountain peaks have been moved to the ground, and there is a huge black hole in that place. However, in the center of the pothole, there is a small white spot, and this white spot is rapidly approaching the satellite magic array. In the picture, the white point quickly zoomed in and showed on the screen little by little. It's a human. The speaker's hands trembled, and he said in shock, impossible. No one can survive under the power of magic wizards. It's like a country hits a nuclear bomb, and it turns out that there is a human being at the center of the nuclear explosion, which is incredible. Everyone present was shocked. Even Chicrane, who is one of the Holy 10, was speechless at this moment. He stared at the screen, and in the center of the screen, the white spot was clearly visible, and he could even see the specific face. At the same time, the magic wizard force hit the point. Above it, Qin Yang was rapidly climbing towards the heights, and in front of his vision, he could already see a huge and complicated magic circle. Does the satellite magic circle still have the effect of monitoring? With a flickering figure, he had come to the bottom of the huge formation, looked up and said, "Everyone, good afternoon." However, his greeting went unanswered. The 8 members and 1 speaker of the council were completely frightened. They couldn't hear what Qin Yang was saying, but they could see each other's lips moving, obviously knowing that they were being watched. Needles could be heard in the conference room, and the sound of swallowing saliva kept ringing. "Who is this person?" Chikrian asked in a cold voice. Even though it was thousands of miles away, Qin Yang seemed to have guessed the reaction of the members, and immediately chuckled. "I must be wondering why after the magic wizard power falls, there are still people who can survive, right?" Shaking his head, Qin Yang stretched out a hand and pressed it towards the satellite magic circle. "The purpose has been achieved, so I won't play with you." Between the words, he pressed his palm to the center of the array, and then copied the magic in it. Unlike transcribing the general wizard who needs a complete analysis, the magic circle diagram of the magic wizard power is right in front of you, and you can transcribe it directly. And with his actions, the image in the council disappeared completely with a puff. Destroyed. An old man murmured. The satellite magic has been destroyed. Who is that person? You must know that the array of satellite magic is located at an altitude of tens of thousands of meters, and the mysterious person can walk in the air without the help of winged magic, which is really frightening. That person's mouth has an emblem. An elderly woman whispered, "Have you forgotten that sign?" Dream. The speaker clenched his fists tightly, and the blue veins burst out on his forehead, both anger and fear. Dark Guild Dream. Just then, there was a loud bang outside the door. Boom. The entire Senate building was shaken, and then a staff member rushed in a panic. "No, it's not good. Speaker." The man stammered. The launching device of the magic wizard force suddenly exploded. The core of the device is a huge crystal ball, which is used to absorb the magic power of various attributes, but just now, the crystal ball was suddenly overwhelmed, shattered and exploded, blowing up the entire launch chamber. What? The speaker's face turned dark, and he felt that the world was spinning. He didn't take a breath, and almost fainted. Damn dream. Is this what they were aiming for in the first place? Now, he realizes that things are not going to end. The purpose is magic spirit power. What are those guys doing? Someone murmured, feeling a cold air coming from behind. I must send someone to investigate. Hurry up. I must hurry up. No, I will lead the team myself. The speaker hurriedly got up and yelled in the conference room. At the edge of the huge pothole with a diameter of dozens of miles, Qin Yang slowly descended. In his palm, a mysterious rune has been added. Different from the previous runes, the mysterious power contained in this mysterious rune has surpassed the level of 10 magic jades. Is this super magic? Qin Yang looked at the palm of his hand and exclaimed in amazement. I actually felt a trace of the origin of the world. Chapter 0599 _ The Devil in the Book of Jeff. The first update _ the book review area can't be opened. I don't know what's going on. Close black lens bracket. The mysterious rune transcribed with super magic actually contains a trace of the origin of the world. Qin Yang was a little surprised. Han, what's going on? Fantasy Jean's reply sounded from the bottom of my heart. I don't know, there is too little information to judge. You can transcribe more kinds of super magic, maybe there will be clues. It makes sense. Maybe the origin of this world is related to super magic. No matter what, we have to collect some first. Qin Yang nodded. Speaking of super magic, the first thing that comes to mind is the 3 super magic of fairy tale, one of which is fairy law, Makarov will, so it is easy to deal with. As for the other 2, you have to go somewhere else. Sirius Island. On Sirius Island, the spirit body of the first-generation president of fairy tale, the 400-year-old little Loli, has created 3 major magics, which can be obtained from her. Speaking of which, the body of the first generation is still sealed in the underground of the Fairy Tale Guild. It seems to be called Fairy Heart, or Lumen Starlight, which is also super magic. Qin Yang pondered for a while, and immediately smiled. If that's the case, then go to the guild first. Just as he was talking, a dragon shadow flew from the sky. Deathwing landed on Qin Yang's side, leaving Makarov behind. The old man fell into a coma and couldn't wake up in a short time. Take him back by the way, and then look for a chance to transcribe the law of the goblin. Qin Yang snapped his fingers, and immediately manifested a war horse, and threw Makarov onto the horse's back. After doing this, he glanced at Deathwing. Immediately, Deathwing's body dissipated, turned into white light, and submerged into his body. Well, it's not good to hide it a little bit, and it's not good to expose it all at once. Stepping towards Magnolia, Qin Yang stretched out his hand to hide the dream emblem on his chest. This time, he acted on his own. Anyway, Makarov didn't know him. When he arrived at Fairy Tale, he sneaked into the underground of the guild and found the body of the first generation. Let's go. Chinyong controlled the warhorse and slowly left the place of death. On the other side, the ruler of ghosts. On the top floor of the guild, Joseph sat on the position of the president, looking at the three in front of him with an ashen face. The three are Gajiru, Arya, the head of the four elements, and the earth element gentleman. I asked you to investigate the situation, what did you do? Joseph snorted coldly and questioned. Hearing this, Alia was silent for a moment before saying, President, I met Gajiru on the way, so I turned back temporarily. Gajiru. Joseph turned his eyes, looked at Tai Long, and said, what happened? Double Dragon War, I escaped while the chaos came back and saved Thor by the way. Gajiru answered calmly. He was in a state of embarrassment, and he had obviously experienced a hard battle, so Joseph reluctantly believed his words by 7 or 8 points. Forget it, this operation failed, let's stop here for now. Joseph waved his hand and said, anyway, Makarov is dead, no not necessarily, but even if he didn't die, he was seriously injured. Before the annihilation of Fairy Tale, Gajiru, after recovering from his injuries, you go to confirm the situation first. Yes. The next day, Magnolia, East Forest. Huh. Makarov let out a grunt, then slowly opened his eyes. The first thing that caught his eye was the sunlight penetrating through the gaps in the leaves, and then he found himself leaning against a big tree. Are you awake? Suddenly, a gentle voice sounded. Makarov's eyelids trembled, and then he looked forward, only to see a handsome young man sitting in front of the bonfire, handcuffing the sweet fish. The man was dressed in white and had a unique temperament. If it weren't for the naked eye to see, Makarov wouldn't even be able to detect the other's breath. Who are you? He opened his mouth, and then memories flooded in like a flood. I remember, I lost to that giant dragon. Where is this? You saved me. How long have I been in a coma? One day. Chinyong, Isho, said, I was passing there, and I happened to see you falling to the ground, so I rescued you by the way. As for the giant dragon, I didn't see the giant dragon. Thank you for saving me. Makarov looked tired and old. The dragon is really scary. I don't know how the situation is now also. Where is this place? Magnolia. Chinyong finished eating the grilled fish in 2 bites, then got up leisurely and said, Makarov, I'll take you here, you can go back by yourself. Hearing this, Makarov also got up. He staggered a few steps, and his body and mind were unstable. You know me. Of course, you are a famous great wizard. Chinyong chuckled and turned to leave. Then, goodbye. Wait. Makarov opened his mouth, but before he could hold back, the other party had disappeared. He didn't even see clearly how the other party disappeared. What a mysterious person. I didn't even ask his name. Shaking his head, Makarov intends to find an opportunity to repay his gratitude, but he still has to go back to the guild first. When he was assigned by the council before, he did not notify the members of the guild and went there alone. Now he has disappeared for a day. If he doesn't go back, the guys from the guild may make trouble in the council. Thinking of this, he dragged his tired body, looked for the direction, and walked away. Shortly after he left, there was a ripple in the space, and Chinyang's figure reappeared. Come out. As soon as the voice fell, 2 figures jumped down from the branches of a big tree. That was Uchiha Itachi and Kageyama. Originally, Chinyang planned to mix in with Fairy Tale, but he felt that his phantom was nearby, so fortunately he gave up. Mission accomplished. Yes. Yingshin nodded, and respectfully handed over a strange magic flute. This is Lullaby, the curse song. Chinyang took the magic flute and looked at it for a while. Others may not feel it, but he can clearly realize that this magic flute is a magical life. Simply put, it's a demon. I wonder if it can be transcribed and turned into a mysterious rune. Chinyang thought to himself, it should be possible. But don't worry for now. He intends to unblock the magic flute, let the demon show up, and let it cause a commotion in Magnolia. And once there is a commotion, the only wizard guild here, Fairy Tale, will definitely not sit idly by. At that time, Qin can take the opportunity to go to the underground of the guild and carry out the body of the first generation, that is, the super magic. Of course, it is also possible to use brute force to grab it. No one can stop him. However, doing so will be more troublesome in the follow-up, but fortunately, it is still a little flexible. This, Qin threw the magic flute to Uchiha Itachi and said, "Go to the downtown area of Magnolia and free the demons." After speaking, his figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. And as he left, Yingxian breathed a sigh of relief, and he was surprised to find that he was covered in cold sweat. "Lord Itachi, is this Lord Qin Emperor?" "Ask less, do more." Uchiha Itachi glanced at him, put the magic flute in his cuff, and then walked towards the town. The task now is to liberate the demons of the Book of Zelf. Chapter 0600 My name Qin Emperor. President, you are back. To the guild, the scene was extremely noisy. Mira seemed to be explaining to a newcomer, and at the moment said with a smile, "It just happened that Natsu and Gildas also came back." Newbie. Makarov raised his eyes and glanced at the woman in front of Mira. "Join the guild." Yes, I'm Lucy." The blonde girl was a little nervous. "Don't be nervous, since you want to join, then I agree." Makarov nodded, his face more serious. He stepped into the guild hall, and then saw Gildas. "Back. How's it going, President?" Gildas nodded in response, then scratched his head and smiled bitterly. "It should be said that it is a 100-year mission, and no one has completed it in 100 years. I failed, and if it wasn't for luck, I might lose half of my life. It's already amazing. As far as I know, you're the first one to take this mission and come back alive." Makarov sighed. "However, it's also troublesome. This is the key point, President. I have to explain a piece of information to you." Gildas lowered his voice and briefly narrated the Black Dragon, Deathwing, Dream, etc. Deathwing. Hearing these words suddenly, Makarov's eyes widened and his mind was shaking. "Is it a black dragon with a big chin?" "Yes. Have you seen it?" "I saw just yesterday." Makarov frowned, with a headache expression on his face. "It can tear one of a Kunoroki's paws. This dragon is really not an ordinary dragon." Gildas didn't know why, and always felt that he seemed to have missed something. He looked at Makarov, suddenly startled. "Are you injured?" "It's okay, don't worry." Makarov waved his hand and said, "Is Natsu here?" He asked Mira. Hearing this, Mila thought for a while before saying, "The one who was still there just now should have been taken away by Elsa," as if to find a flute, and so did Gray. "Flute." Makarov focused and said softly, "Don't let anything bad happen. Elsa, duel with me." Magnolia, a commercial street built along the river, is accompanied by 2 men and 1 woman. These 3 are Natsu, Gray, and Urza. At this moment, Natsu shouted loudly and followed behind Urza. Hearing his duel declaration, Gray couldn't help shaking his head. "Isn't it bad enough to be repaired? It really doesn't have a long memory. You can't beat Urza, but I can beat her." "What did you say?" Drooping eyes. "Want to fight? Fire, idiots." "Enough." Seeing that the 2 were about to quarrel again, Elsa immediately snorted and said with a majesty, "Don't forget what I'm looking for you for. Now is not the time to play. If you don't hurry, the situation will change. Very bad." "Yes." Just as she was talking, Urza suddenly let out a light whimper, and her eyes turned to look at the 2 people walking on the other side of the street. One of them she had met, Pineapple Head, one of the 4 in the hotel, who used shadow magic. Pai Shan. The other, wearing a black cloud robe with a red background, standing collar, with a forehead guard on his forehead, the emblem on it is extremely familiar. Dream. Urza's pupils shrank, and the figure of Deathwing suddenly popped out of her mind. What do these 2 people want to do? Seemingly sensing this fiery gaze, Uchiha Itachi raised his eyebrows. Lord Itachi, it's that woman. The fairy queen, Kageyama whispered. Go. Uchiha Itachi said with an expressionless face, turned and left. He turned the street and walked towards the alley. Seeing this, Kageyama immediately followed. Chase. Urza gave a light drink and said, don't let them run away. Saying that, he rushed forward first. What are you chasing? Natsu was stunned, confused, he didn't pay attention to the two of them. Idiot, of course those two suspicious elements just now. Gray moved and followed first. Wait, that looks interesting, hubby. Let's go too. Natsu grinned Isho, and immediately jumped, flying over the 10-meter wide river. However, at this moment, a green crystal ball flew from the top of the commercial store on the street. Boom! This small crystal ball, like a beam of laser light, instantly hit Natsu and knocked him down into the river. What bastard! Natsu yelled angrily. He looked around and saw a sexy woman standing on the roof with a smile on her face. You are from the council. Natsu was stunned. He was often summoned by the Senate for sabotage and met with a member of the Senate once or twice. Found you, Natsu Dragon. Urusha smiled and dragged a crystal ball in her hand. Can you come for me? Huh. Magnolia, South Exit Park. In the center of the park, there is a tall tree that is hundreds of years old. The two of Uchiha Itachi walked all the way, and finally stopped here. Don't run. A scolding came, and the next moment, Urza Shukulet had already caught up here, followed by Gray. Because they were too concerned about the actions of Uchiha Itachi and the two, they didn't even notice it, and his companion Natsu didn't follow. Aren't you running? Urza's eyes flickered, staring at Itachi Uchiha. Who are you? The emblem on your forehead, do you know? Run. Uchiha Itachi slowly turned around and faced each other. You misunderstood, we just want to leave you here. He added, Elsa Shukulet, Gray Fullpasta. This is the first time I met you. Let me introduce myself. I am Itachi Uchiha, one of the members of Dream. Dream. Gray was taken aback. S-level mission issued by the council before was about this guild, and he still knew a little bit. What do you guys want to do here? Urza grabbed her right hand, and a knight's sword was already in her hand. Speak. Death, where is Deathwing? He. Uchiha Itachi chuckled twice. Lord Deathwing. Is that what you want to see him? Shaking his head, a strange magic flute slipped out of his drooping cuffs. On the top of the flute is a skull. If you guys can deal with this, devil, maybe I'll tell you. Between words, Uchiha Itachi threw the magic flute forward. Curse song. The next moment, boom. Purple lightning flashed, and the magic flute swelled suddenly, quickly turning into a withered demon with a body of dozens of meters. Roar. In the roar, a huge magic power suddenly descended. At the same time, all the wizards in the town changed their expressions. Fairy Tale, Guildhall. All felt an evil magic born. Gildas's expression changed. This is the breath of the devil. It's in the town. What the hell is going on? Makarov murmured, then snapped back to his senses. Everyone, come with me. Yes, President. Immediately, the entire fairy tale was dispatched and headed towards Nenko Park. In the blink of an eye, only Mira was left in the lively guild. She opened her mouth and looked at her departing companion, but in the end she didn't say anything. At a time like this, I can't help at all, Mira gave a wry smile. However, at this moment, at the gate, the space rippled, and a figure stepped forward. Huh, Mira Vivi was startled, her eyes widened, and she looked at the visitor. Mirage Strauss, Fairy Tale S-class wizard, has lost his magic and has become the guild's Kanban girl. Qin Yang's face was calm, and he stepped forward. I just need a manager here. Little girl, are you interested in joining me and waiting for the dream? You or you? Mira stared blankly at the man who suddenly appeared in front of her. My name Qin Emperor.